It is Sunday, November the 30th, 2025. Sunday fun day of the Overtime Drive, week number 14 edition. And we have got a lot to get into on a jam-packed Sunday on the field, but certainly off the field. The coaching carousel, we finally get some answers that we are looking for. The Lane Kiffin saga officially comes to an end. We got plenty of updates on that and what's taking place in both Oxford and Baton Rouge. Obviously, also new coaches down in Gainesville, Fayetteville, and of course, Auburn as well. And like I said, a jam-packed weekend to talk about as well, and also taking your questions, your comments. We're going to get into it all here tonight, guys. Once again, appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Like I mentioned, this is the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered's bi-weekly SEC football show, the best SEC football show on the internet. As always, I'm Chris Phillips. He is Cole the Bear Thompson. And again, we thank you all once again for tuning in. Make sure, as always, you do hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube, because as always, we are brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel, FanDuel.com/SECU to join today. Get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, FanDuel.com/SECU to get in on the action today. Like I mentioned, follow us on all the socials, YouTube, podcast. You already know the drill. Our website, SECUnfiltered.com. It is the official home of the Overtime Drive. Again, this is Sunday Fun Day, Sunday, November the 30th. The regular season is officially in the books, if you can believe it, guys. We've made it through 14 weekends. The SEC championship game in Atlanta is set, but we got a lot to talk about before we look ahead to that, because, again, this Sunday, chaos all across the SEC, and certainly many things we want to dive into, discuss, and get into. Hello, everyone. As always, I'm Chris Phillips. Joining me once again, as he always does, Mr. Cole the Bear Thompson, who is one of the best in the business, who has been a busy man certainly today and this weekend. Bear, I appreciate your hard work. Appreciate you taking the time, my friend. How's everything going? How was your Thanksgiving? You and I haven't spoken in a few days.
Fantastic. It is 8:32, and Mark Stoops is still the head coach at Kentucky, even though that there are lawyers now getting involved in this search. No, it's fine. Got to hang out with the niece. Got to hang out with the wife. Got to hang out with the family. And I got to watch good college football this weekend. We had some good games. We had some really good games that need to not be overshadowed by the Lane Kiffin debacle, the hiring of Pete Golding, the college football carousel moves that occurred. Really good ending way to close out the college football season, at least the regular season. And lo and behold, now we got an SEC championship that many people are probably bored and sick and tired of seeing. But you know what? It just feels right that these are the two teams that play in Atlanta.
Yeah, Bear, it's crazy. Before we get rolling, it's wild. We had a great rivalry weekend, of course, which we're going to dive into. But it feels like that has been all overshadowed by what took place here on this Sunday. Again, we're going to dive into it, guys. We'd love to hear your questions, your comments. I see a couple already of our faithful listeners that are tuned in. Our friend Sandman, still running the state of Texas. Certainly, we are going to get into that game, what took place on Friday night, and, of course, eat some crow, because both Cole the Bear Thompson and I went with Texas A&M in that game. Daniel says Auburn hit a home run with Golesh. Definitely going to talk about that in a second. We appreciate you tuning in. Braden, what's going on? Appreciate you. We've got Nice Wills up in here as well. A lot of folks obviously want to talk what's going down in Oxford. Our friend Dylan Baskin says hotty toddy. What's going on, Dylan? Bear, with that being said, like I mentioned, guys, keep them coming. Your questions, your comments, everything in between. We definitely want to hear from you throughout the show. But, Bear, we got to start it off, dive right into it. The big news, the thing that we have been tracking over the last few weeks, Lane Kiffin officially is an LSU Tiger. He announces today on social media that he is taking the job. Of course, this was all part of a crazy weekend, which it's all been crazy the last 3 or 4 weeks or so. I was at the Egg Bowl, obviously, on Friday. Mississippi State fans are trolling Ole Miss fans walking into the stadium. They're playing the LSU fight song all throughout the day. You and I have been getting information the last few weeks. We felt like we knew it was coming from the standpoint of we felt confident that LSU was going to be the choice, but it came down to, of course, and Friday we got confirmation. Was it going to be LSU? Was it going to be Ole Miss? Lane Kiffin, obviously, a lot of conversations had, meetings with Keith Carter and the chancellor, and this goes in a Saturday night. And then, of course, we get today Lane Kiffin officially releasing his own statement. I think just after maybe it was just before. I think it was just after the team meeting was held at 1 o'clock. Either way, releases his own statement. I am going to LSU. I am taking this job. Does the whole interview with Marty Smith. And now we sit here. Lane Kiffin is in the boot. He is in Baton Rouge, already getting after it hard at work, taking pictures with recruits and all. We've got signing day upcoming. But let's get straight to it and get to the point, Bear. And I know you already reacted to it. I'll let you get your piece out there. I've got some things I want to say, certainly, because I think there's a perception of how I feel about this hire, excuse me, on social media. I actually feel some other ways as well, some things I have not voiced. But Lane Kiffin, LSU, again, I've heard some of the things you've said, Bear, but initial reactions, and I don't feel like either one of us, you or I, were really shocked by these events.
It's the best job in college football when run properly. If you get an offer, you got to take it. It's very hard to turn it down. I will just stand on that business for as long as I live. Getting the offer to coach at LSU with what you have in terms of resources, with what you have in terms of revenue distribution, what you have in terms of this your backyard riddled with five-star talents, and kids that are never committed to the coach. They're committed to the school. It's 100% a valid reason to go look at where you are and say, I got to go take this job. I get it. It's just the process of how we got here that's really souring on the entire thing. Now, I will just tell you right now, I think Lane Kiffin's going to have success at LSU. I think that his offensive mojo, what he will bring in terms of being able to retain talent, going out, bringing in the right recruits, and still utilizing the transfer portal as much as he does, is going to elevate the stats of LSU. It's going to end up working. But it's a slap in the face in so many ways, because while this is a great job and it's arguably the best job in college football, how we got here, whether you blame the calendar, whether you blame the way that current things are when it comes to the resources and how we got to go about the transfer portal and how we got to go about early signing period, all these things, you're basically telling your team, a team that you just led to its best season in playoff history, in a year that nobody predicted that Ole Miss was going to be in that conversation. Like, we all thought, okay, 9-3. With a backup quarterback from Ferris State, with a running back that did not get any looks at another school, that even with all of this, you're still not good enough to win a national championship. That's what it tells me. That's what it tells me, is that you still do not believe that your team is good enough to win a title, and you never will be. And that hurts. That hurts to hear if you're a player. That hurts to hear if you're a part of that staff. It hurts to hear if you're Keith Carter. And you had to make the call. And I commend Keith Carter and I commend the chancellor to go out and say, you are going to be the Ole Miss head coach and coach us in the college football playoff, or we are going to the college football playoff without you as a head coach. Because the bottom line is that you cannot be the head coach at LSU coaching the Ole Miss Rebels. You just can't do it. It's a conflict of interest at this point. And so you give them credit. You give them the opportunity to feel pretty confident that they're now going to go run the show with Pete Golding at the charge. It's a crappy situation. Hopefully both end up winning from this. I don't know that you will see both come away winning from this. You may see both lose in this process. I still am at the theory of Lane Kiffin needed Ole Miss. But partially, I also think that Ole Miss needed Lane Kiffin. And it was a perfect match. And unfortunately, it had to end.
Yeah, but there's a lot of different places to start with this. And we've talked about it, obviously, so much over the last few weeks. And I forgive me if I'm repeating myself in any of these or reiterating some things. The first thing that came to mind, admittedly, Bear, when all this went down today, we talked about it weeks ago when I went to Oxford. Lane Kiffin's a Scorpion, right? I mean, let's just reiterate that point. Like, he is who he is. I'm not going to go on record and say as far as, like, I think he's a just straight up bad person, or like, right. I think that he I'm not going to go that far. I don't know him personally. We know what's on the internet. We know what people say about him, whatever. I'm not going to sit here and say he is a bad human being, but we know who he is, and we know his nature. We know that I said it weeks ago that it would be the most Lane Kiffin thing ever for him to leave and to take that job. And it was going to come down to, what did Lane Kiffin really want? See, I think that's the thing too. And that's the thing maybe irking people and rubbing people the wrong way. Lane, this thing was always about you. This was not about anybody else. This wasn't about doing right by Ole Miss. This wasn't doing right by LSU. This wasn't doing right by Florida. This was about doing right by you, period. Point blank, end of discussion. Right, wrong, or indifferent, right? And with a decision like this, I can understand being selfish, but let's just get that point out there. But it was always going to come down to, what do you care about most? What do you care about most? What do you believe in? What do you value? Do you want your name on the stadium? Do you want a statue? Does family matter more than anything? Or do you want to pursue winning a national championship And I think that is why you saw him pick LSU at the end of the day. It's the unfortunate point, Bear, that you made the point. There are haves and have-nots in college football. It just is the bottom line. And I don't say this with any disrespect to Ole Miss at all. We love the Ole Miss folks. But LSU's a have and Ole Miss is a have-not when it comes from the standpoint of competing for national championships. Why else does Lane Kiffin leave Ole Miss, a team going to the playoff, very well could go win it all this year or at least make it to the Natty? Why does he leave that situation so quickly and so swiftly for an LSU? I think there was only one reason, because apparently it wasn't about money from what he was told. I know he's the highest paid coach in college football now. I still don't think that was the deciding factor. I think it came down to he wants to try his hand at winning a national title. I wish he'd have been a little bit more genuine from the standpoint of, like, just tell people why you're really going, man. Like, stop deflecting with this using religion as a crutch, and I've been deep in prayer and what my dad want me to do. Like, all right, brother, we get it. Like, we get it. But, like, tell me why you're really going. Like, there's the haves, there's the have-nots. Unfortunately, too, the only way that a have-not like Ole Miss can become a have is if a guy like Lane Kiffin one of these days says, you know what? I'm going to stick with the mission here. I believe in what we're building. I'm going to turn down the big bad bully. I'm going to turn down this other opportunity. Despite the fact that on paper it might be better, I'm going to turn Ole Miss into something that it hasn't been. But unfortunately, we see yet again, as is in college football, Bear, the rich get richer. And listen, I want to say this too, because I've been speaking a lot on social media, especially from the Ole Miss vantage point of things, because I really feel bad for the players. That's what really irks me. That's what sucks about all this. I'm pulling for Ole Miss in the playoff. I hope they go win the whole damn thing. I think it'd be an awesome story, again, just for those players alone, and I'll get in the Golding thing in a second, but for those players, I would love to see them make a run. That would be so special, so cool. I think it'd be cool for them to show, hey, this team was so much more than one guy. This team was not just Lane Kiffin. This team was a collection of individuals that have come together to fight for the glory that is Ole Miss, to fight for Hotty Toddy. And they're the ones that went out there. We talk about the playoff. Ole Miss should 1,000% be in the playoff because the players are the ones who went out there and win 11-1. Yeah, Lane Kiffin's a great coach. Charlie Weiss can call plays, but like, the players went out there and went 11-1. Don't take away the opportunity from the players who have earned every right to compete in the college football playoff. But that being said, I mean, it just, you know, from the I've been speaking a lot from the Ole Miss vantage point, where I think a lot of LSU folks think I've got some gripe against Kiffin or that I'm upset about this. Guys, here's the bottom line. LSU hit a grand slam.
Yep.
Because he's going to win. I mean, he's going to win. I don't think it's a matter of if, it's a matter of when LSU is back in the spotlight, in the college football playoff, in the SEC title, in a national championship game. You can love the guy. You can hate the guy. You can say the way he did this thing was dirty. You can blame the calendar. You can nitpick all these different things. And that's all we're seeing right now on the timeline. But, like, I want to talk about the fit at LSU because the fit's perfect.
Perfect.
The fit is perfect. And I hope that he keeps Blake Baker around at DC. I know that Blake Baker is going to be given the opportunity to stay. Does Blake Baker want to go take a head coaching job? There's a lot of different factors there, obviously. But, like, if he can keep Blake Baker intact, the offensive side of the ball, I think you're set. And LSU is going to get back to playing electric, elite offense, explosive offense. That place is a place you and I both know it recruits itself. You're going to have no problems getting guys in from the portal, the high school ranks. You got all the money in the world you could ever ask for. You got a great fan base. You pack out over 100,000 in your stadium on a weekly basis. You have the history. You have the tradition. You are a have of college football. And you got a guy in Lane Kiffin that while he's never won anything, he will be of significance. Now, I'm talking conference titles, national titles. He's going to be put in the best possible position ever in his career to go win at the highest level.
The thing that you
in
are
a cycle, I don't want to cut you off, but in a cycle where a lot of guys would have been a roll of the dice. How many sure things are there? None. Essentially none. He's as sure a thing as it gets when it comes to winning at the highest level. So I want to make it very clear. I'm pumped to see Lane Kiffin in Baton Rouge. I'm torn on it because I see both sides and I feel for the Ole Miss folks who've treated me so well. But, you know, I got a lot of LSU buddies too that have treated me really well. And I'm happy for them and I'm excited for them. And I can't wait to go to a game at Death Valley and watch this LSU team finally get back to where they are supposed to be, which is the top of the SEC, the top of college football. This is an extremely proud program. I just hope Ole Miss doesn't crumble on his way out. And I think they've done a good job trying to keep that thing together. But from the LSU perspective solely, and here's the deal. Here's the kicker, Cole. Because everybody's attacking Lane Kiffin and taking the personal shots, and I get it. He's opened the door to it. I totally understand it. But there are two parties specifically who should not give a damn. That is LSU and that is Lane Kiffin, because y'all both got what y'all wanted.
Yep.
And if this thing goes the way you want it to go, guess what? You're both going to be better off. It's going to be a win-win for both parties. So to hell with everybody else. And I'm excited to see it play out. I think it was a great hire, obviously. Remove all the other stuff. Remove all the emotion. LSU and maybe even Lane Kiffin down the road, if the way things work out the way they both want it, they're the biggest winners in all this, and it's not going to matter. It ain't going to mean a hill of beans how Ole Miss people feel or how national people feel, how you feel, how I feel. As long as they're good with it, to hell with all the outside noise is. LSU won big time. And just call it for what it is. They dropped their nuts. LSU dropped their nuts on everybody because they weren't even in this conversation like 2.5 weeks ago. And they came out of nowhere and got their guy. I mean, sometimes you swing and miss in a coaching carousel. Brother, they swung and they hit that thing out of the park. So I give LSU a lot of credit. When it looked so much in disarray with Jeff Landry and the BK buyout, I give them a lot of credit for the alignment side of things, for pulling this thing together, for getting the right deal in place, for staying persistent, and eventually landing their guy. Now, we'll see what happens, but I'll be really surprised if it's not a really successful tenure. And if he's hoisting hardware, it will not shock me at all.
Let me ask you out of curiosity, how many coaches can you actually say have won something of significance in college football? 2.
That's a very good point.
You can say 2.
What, Dabo Swinney and Kirby Smart? I mean, Ryan Day as well.
Ryan Day, my apologies. 3.
Yeah, Ryan Day as well.
Right now, those are the only thing you could say. How many can you say have been to the national championship? 5, 6. Kalen DeBoer, and he didn't do it at Alabama. You could say that Sharon Moore did it as an assistant coach. You could say Sonny Dykes. I mean, like, regardless of how you want to phrase it, Lane Kiffin has proven over the last 6 years at Ole Miss that he is one of the premier coaches in college football. And LSU demands a premier coach. Bottom line. So use whatever logic that you want about how he is X, Y, and Z, hasn't won anything, hasn't done anything. Guys, he is going to go down in history at a program that had been kind of a bottom dweller in the SEC for most of its tenure as the all-time winningest coach in winning percentage, 3 straight 10-win campaigns, 4 total during his tenure at Ole Miss. The first 11-win regular season, the first 11-win season, and the first college football playoff appearance. Lane did all that. So it's a great fit. And you had to make the hire if you were LSU, because if you know what the expectations are. Now, Lane Kiffin also has to realize what the expectations are when you touch down in Baton Rouge. It's completely different than what you had in Oxford. With the job that comes and the pedigree of having this premier location at your standpoint, there comes different expectations. 9-3 is not going to cut it every single year. It isn't. Brian Kelly went 9-3 2 years in a row, and guess what? He was fired 2 years later.
Yeah, not 9-3 gets you fired at LSU.
10-2 is good enough for you to be able to make it to the college football playoff. Mm-hmm. It's not good enough to win you a national title. You are going to have fans in your comment section that will say, when you decide to troll and have juice in the photo with Mike the Tiger, what in the actual hell are you doing? We just won by 7 points to Florida. Get your head out of your ass and figure it out. They're going to have that. And Lane has to be okay with that. And Lane has to be okay with all these other little tidbits that go into it. That's what it is. But it was the right move by LSU to go after Lane Kiffin. They didn't have a secondary plan that was going to be a slam dunk. Kenny Dillingham is as much as a risk as Lane Kiffin is a risk. But the difference is that Lane Kiffin's been doing it longer, and Lane Kiffin at a school has shown you consistently, I can get 10-plus wins. That's where we are. Now, do I believe he deserved to get paid $14 million? No, I don't. But the bottom line, Chris, is that this is the market that we live in. I have this conversation when we talk about the NFL all the time about quarterbacks getting paid. Are we supposed to be mad that Dak Prescott got offered $46 million annually when he's probably only worth $30 million? No, that's what the market dictated. The market said that Lane Kiffin was going to be the highest paid coach in college football. He was going to take the money where he went. LSU gets themselves a coach that they believe can win a national title, and he believes is the best fit for him to win a national title. And hopefully you end up seeing the exact same thing happen at Ole Miss. They keep the momentum. They put themselves in a good position to where they continuously can strike, and they will be right back in the college football playoff conversation afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I
My
think
apologies, $12 million. Still, I don't even think he's worth $12 million. I think he's a $10 million coach. But that's what the market says that it's going to cost you.
Yeah, and I mean, you're the hottest name, the sexiest name out there. You're going to get that money. I mean, bottom line, and you've done what you've done at Ole Miss, and of course, the belief is, hey, if you and it's not certainly this isn't a compliment to Ole Miss, and I'm not saying it as this is just the belief out there. Hey, if you can do what you're doing at Ole Miss, then what are you going to do at a place like where we are, where people? I saw this quote from somebody, I forget who it was, but essentially, Ole Miss's ceiling is LSU's expectation. That's the feeling. That's the vibe around. I'm sure that's how LSU people feel. Is it right? Is it wrong? Whatever. It doesn't matter. That's the narrative and that's the belief over there. I mean, I don't even want to spend a lot of time hashing it out or talking about it, Bear. I mean, do I love the way that Lane Kiffin handled it? No. I said this weeks ago. I was like, man, I really hope Lane, whatever he does, handles this the right way. Because I was told before the season by Ole Miss people, I asked, if he's to leave, what would be his legacy? How would he be viewed? And I was told, Brad Logan, friend of the show, good friend of mine, guy I got to link up with at the Egg Bowl, by the way. It was great to meet him in person finally. He told me, he said, Chris, he's still going to be revered as the best Ole Miss coach or one of the best in school history. He's going to be beloved. He's going to be thanked on his way out the door. That was the belief at that time. Well, then the last month happened.
Yep.
The thing I wish Lane Kiffin would have done, I wish he wouldn't have waited to the final buzzer to make the decision. Now, you're asking him to not coach his football team. I get it. But he also put Ole Miss in a really, really bad spot. And I like Pete Golding. I like what Golding's done as a defensive coordinator. We'll see how it plays out. I think for the short term, it was the best possible move because it's going to. It
was the only move you could make.
It's going to keep this football team together, galvanized. You know, they're excited. You saw the videos today. They're pumped. Pete Golding era is underway. But for the long term, would I like to have seen them get Jon Sumrall? Yeah, I would have. Alex Golesh. I mean, start naming off some of these other names. Like, yeah, for sure. And I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure they would have liked to have had an extensive search. But instead, because of Lane Kiffin's selfishness, if we're being totally honest, and this misconception, I will say this too. I had a moment yesterday, or was it 2 days ago, whatever it was, where for a split second, and I'll own it when I have a take, and then I go back and say, you know what, I've got more information. I'm going to pivot my stance on this. Because on one hand, I looked at it this way, Cole. Hey, he's leaving anyways.
Yeah.
He's gone. Why not just ride it out with him and let's just see what we can do with the best version of our team that includes the head coach. Now, here's the issue. When all this stuff starts coming out, he's taking this coach with him and this coach with him, and that it's like, okay, now you're acting as like an active agent for LSU. We can't have you in the building for another month. And also, when in going back thinking about it, you're right. It wouldn't make sense because this thing would just keep going. It would just keep going and going and going, and it would drive everyone insane. So I agree with what you said, many others. You couldn't let Lane Kiffin coach a football team. You just can't do it. Can't do it. It is what it is. You've got to try to make this run without him. You're either with us or you're not. You can blame the calendar, the signing day, the portal, the playoff, and I get it. I think the calendar is playing its own role in this. Like, I totally understand. That is the tough thing too, Beer. And I know being in the middle of a take is never a popular spot, or it's not the most entertaining spot. It'd be a lot more entertaining if we were just dying on one side of the hill. If I came out here and said that I eviscerated Lane Kiffin's character and was like, I don't ever even want to think about the guy, I'm not going to be there because I'm kind of in the middle because I get both sides. Ole Miss should be upset. Like, they have every right to be upset. I get it. And like, I'd be lying to you, Cole, if I said, I get an icky feeling thinking about a guy doing what feels like quitting on his team when they are 11-1, should be hosting a home playoff game, and they're in the midst of arguing the greatest season in school history. I feel icky about that. I don't like supporting that. I don't like that. I feel for the players. I think it's messed up. I think it's dirty. On the other side, I'm like, if you're Lane Kiffin, take away all the personal stuff. Let's just think about the job and the football stuff. If you're Lane Kiffin, and you got what feels like a once in a lifetime opportunity, and you're given a deadline of when to take it, well, then what choice do you have? I mean, what do you do? You know, the only thing I would have liked to maybe seen him do is take it 3 weeks ago. If you knew you were going, go and let Ole Miss brace for impact. The fact he left them in the final hour to scramble and to have to hire, you know, and again, like Pete Golding, but like that was the only move they could make, right? They didn't have another move. There wasn't another move.
They played every card that they could, and they got stuck with
that was the only move they had. So, like, I see both sides. I do, because I'm trying to think with an open mind and think fairly, and I want to be fair to both sides. I'm not really on either side in this scenario, by the way. I'm not an Ole Miss fan. I'm not an LSU fan. Same thing with you, Cole. There's some people out there, they love to try to tab us as we're biased to this side or that side. I'm really not. I'd love to see Ole Miss continue to win and win at a high level. I want to see LSU get back because, damn, that place is a good time when they're winning.
Yeah, it's
fantastic. And I love the people down there, but, like, so it was a really tough situation. It could have been handled better, for sure. But at the end of the day, I see both sides of it. You know what I mean? So, like, the calendar, we got to go back to the calendar. The calendar's got to get fixed. That's the bottom line. Nick Saban, I thought, beautifully put it into perspective on College Game Day. I thought he did a great job just laying out what's wrong with this. I don't know that I saw a lot of criticisms of ESPN this weekend. I didn't get to see Game Day, a whole lot of it. I don't love the idea of those guys acting like he's the victim in all this. I will not remotely entertain that conversation. But, yeah, the calendar's got to get fixed. So, Bear, like I said, I feel very conflicted because it irks me for Ole Miss, but I understand it from the LSU side and from Lane Kiffin wanting to take an opportunity that feels like a can't miss. And you don't know if it is ever going to come open again. And you made the point, I heard you talking about this earlier, and I was told this too. The one job that Lane would wait out for, if he knew it'd come open and that he could get it, would be Alabama.
And he would have stayed.
And the same way Nick Saban told him, hey, if you're going to leave, you should go to LSU. I was told the same Nick Saban told him, excuse my French, Lane, quit fucking dreaming. You ain't getting that Alabama job. I don't need to say any more than that. So
I will say this is clear as day. He is never getting the Alabama job. If he would have had any shot of getting the Alabama job, he would have waited it out. He's not getting the Alabama job. So you take the next best thing that's possible. And in my standpoint, hello, Blake Ruffino, our sweet friend in the comments section, who says that we hate LSU, specifically me. I think that LSU is a better job than Alabama when run properly. It 100% can be run properly with Lane Kiffin. He may have the best job in college football. You knew you weren't getting Alabama. You take what is the best one. Hello, Blake Ruffino. I missed you. And by the way, I know that we're talking about other things right now, but Mark Stoops has officially been fired by Kentucky. So another coaching move.
Way.
If I can do a third, eighth live stream tonight, are we just gonna have that happen?
Cole, we'll do it. We'll do it right now, and we'll clip it from here. Let's close out. Really, I mean, I feel like we hit everything really quickly. Like I said, on Pete Golding.
Yeah, real fast.
I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. Great move for the short term. The move you had to make. Keep this football team together. Let's see if Pete can't go win a game or two and mess around and get to a semi. And God forbid, who knows if there's a magical run that could occur. I don't know for the long term. I do think it's an uphill battle. One of the reasons I did not want Lane to leave Ole Miss is because I enjoy Ole Miss being a factor.
Yeah.
And realistically, I just don't know if Ole Miss is going to continue to be, let's just put it this way, the factor they have been. Like, I don't even think it's fair to expect the next guy. I mean, even if it was Sumrall, Bear, I don't know that it would be fair to expect a guy like Sumrall or any of these dudes to match what Lane Kiffin did. Like, I'm at least going to give Lane that credit that he deserves. That, I mean, he was a massive, massive, massive part of the reason. I won't say the whole reason because players got to play. His assistants got to coach too. But it's his football program. There's a reason they're getting paid all that money, right? So I worry about the future of Ole Miss football. We'll see what Pete Golding can do. Hey, maybe this is the shot that he needed, and he's the next coming of, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I short term, I love it. Long term, I don't really know what to think.
Here's where I am on the Pete Golding thing, and I'll be brief about this because I already mentioned this earlier on the live stream when we did the Lane Kiffin announcement. I believe that Ole Miss is a better job because of what Lane Kiffin was able to accomplish, which means they have standards and they have priorities that they have to meet. I also believe that if you bring in the right coach with the identity and the formula that you currently have put together at a place in Oxford, you can be sustainable regardless of who is running the show. So what needs to happen if you are Keith Carter? The contract that you were going to give, because remind yourself, now you're no longer the DC, you're going to get a new deal. The money that you were going to give to Lane Kiffin, you have to invest in Pete Golding. You have to throw it in the NIL fund. You have to throw it into the transfer portal fund. You have to throw it into recruiting. You have to be able to have those advantages to where you feel like you're not missing out on talent. Because again, this is the best run of Ole Miss football we have seen in this century and probably the best run in football. I mean, in Ole Miss football history. You got to continue to build that momentum. You can't allow yourself to fall short and be behind teams like Tennessee and South Carolina and Florida and Vanderbilt. You have to be able to continue to spend the money. Whatever you're going to spend on Lane Kiffin now needs to go allocated into the funds. That way you're able to win out on recruits, you're able to win out on the transfer portal, and you're able to build momentum going into next season where this thing can be right back on the sales and you have an opportunity to continue to be a threat in the SEC. All things that you need to have with Pete Golding. Now, if it fails afterwards, that shows you that you need a special coach to run the program out in Oxford. But you got to give him a shot. You got to give him at least an opportunity to prove that he can get the job done. And I think that he will have some success. I don't know if that success ends up leading towards a college football playoff after the season or a national title bid.
Bear, let's move on. Well, I'll be pretty quick, by the way, because I know you've already done a great job reacting to breaking down all these other hirings today. So when I get to those, I'll be pretty quick because, again, I don't want to – you guys have probably already watched those. I don't want to go too long. I do want to give my brief thoughts on each. But the breaking news that we need to get to right now, because we're not going to ask Cole the Bear Thompson to go live for like a ninth time today. We'll do it right now. Mark Stoops is reportedly – on his way out of Lexington. Pete Thamel tweeting this out just a few minutes ago. Sources: Kentucky is expected to fire Coach Mark Stoops, with the process set to formally play out tomorrow, a.k.a. that being on Monday. This was one we were not sure we were going to get, but after a disappointing finish to this season, after Kentucky, I mean, they really surged, right? They looked like a team that was completely dead early in the season. Obviously made a late run, got some big wins, but you fall late in the season. You get throttled by your rival by a final score of 41-0.
Disgusting game
against Louisville. A terrible game. The Mark Stoops era, it appears, we'll just call it Bear, it is coming to an end in Lexington. Just really quickly for context, Mark Stoops went 62-80 in his tenure at Lexington, 25-68 in SEC play. But that does not tell the full story here, because a run from 2016 to 2023, Kentucky went to 8 straight bowl games. They won 10 games in 2018. You look, they were a model of consistency for a while, won 8 games in 2019. And I mean, this guy took over a program. They went 2-10 in that first season, started making bowl games, like I said, 2016 to 2023. They won 4 straight bowl games, by the way, the Citrus, the Belk, the Gator, and the Citrus again. But you saw some cracks in the armor, Bear, in 2024, where you go 4-8. Then this year, you go 5-7. And I remember talking about it last year. Last year felt like such a big trajectory year for Kentucky football, where you were coming off back-to-back 7-6s. You know, you're kind of like, hey, what direction is the program going? Have we plateaued? Like, is this the peak under Mark Stoops? And sure enough, it starts to fall apart. You missed at quarterback a couple times with some of these transfer portal guys. You saw that sort of play out. This year, what we got to know Kentucky is the big blue wall and physicality and toughness. I feel like the last couple years, they got kind of soft up front. Like, you just didn't have that same physicality, that nastiness, that toughness when you had guys like Benny Snell at the running back position, like guys like that really set the tone for you on both sides of the football. Mark Stoops out at Kentucky. Bear, your initial reaction to the news.
The timing had come to a standstill. And I thought that really what it was, yeah, you had 2 very good wins. You were back on track. You mollywop Florida. You end up firing. You quite literally are the reason why Hugh Freeze is out of a job at Auburn. Now, it was already you were going to get fired probably, but still, you ended the tenure. You're gaining momentum. You're having some steam. You feel like that you can be bowl eligible. You can save your job. You get embarrassed by Vanderbilt, which never happens. Quite literally, it was the performance of a lifetime from Diego Pavia. And then you lose 41-0, where you had 2 third-down conversions, 10 first downs, 100 passing yards, 140 total yards of offense, and you go into the press conference afterwards knowing that you're not going to be bowl eligible, knowing that it's back-to-back losing seasons, and you say, I'm not stepping down. You're kind of sucking me. Yep. I'm not, you got to fire me. Get me out of here. You're laughing. You're laughing at how this entire thing is panning on out. If that is not the ultimate sign, it's best for us to part ways because we're in such this toxic relationship, and we really have been since you initially signed on to be the head coach at Texas A&M. You signed on to be the next guy at A&M. And then, thankfully, Billy Lucci and the boys were able to go ahead and put together on the message boards, hell no, we're not doing that. And you land a coach that now is taking you to the college football playoff. It was abundant that you were on borrowed time. But the attitude and the way that you went about it, like you were handcuffing them. You were saying, listen, I'm in charge. You gave me this contract. Give me my money and I'll walk. And so they said, you know what? We got to give him the money. And you know how the contract goes. He's going to be owed over $30 million in the next 60 days. That's going to be a way for them to be able to get on out of this deal. And then they got to start fresh. But like at some point, you have to remind yourself, Chris, that this is a team that gave out such a heinous contract that nobody has ever gotten before. Like it was the best contract in college football. And all they asked you to do at Kentucky, get us to bowl games. Get us to the point of where we were going to be, going 7-5. Just get us there. And it was a great deal. And he couldn't even do that right. Timing it to reach its end. Unlike Lane Kiffin, I do think that we have to remember Kentucky's era underneath Mark Stoops as somewhat of a promising one. He's the all-time winningest coach. He was the longest tenured coach in the SEC over the last 20 years outside of Nick Saban at Alabama. And he was able to turn the corner where you went to 8 bowl games and you were ranked and you had 2 10-win seasons. There was a lot of good with Mark Stoops, but everything eventually reached its end. And for Mitch Barnhart, this was probably the deciding factor. The way that you acted in the comments, the way you acted in the press conference yesterday, and to lose those 2 games in such disastrous fashion, you knew the timing was up. And the bottom line is that, what were you going to do? Not pay him $30 million to kick the can down the road to where you go 3-9 next year, and then pay him $26 million, and then say, oh, well, you know what? We got to kick the can down the road another year. What are you going to owe him then? $21 million. So you're still owing him a lot of money. You might as well just rip the Band-Aid off. Here's where I'm at, though, when it comes to this deal. Mitch Barnhart is going to face a lot of scrutiny, and he may not be the athletic director much longer at Kentucky. Because do you know who else has this addendum in their contract? One guy. Jimbo Fisher had the addendum in his contract. The single worst contract ever given out in college football. What happened to Ross Bjork when they decided to make that decision? They told him, better find a new job. So he went to Ohio State. And what happened was Scott Woodward was flirting with the idea of bringing Jimbo Fisher to make Ross Bjork sign that contract. He was shown the door at LSU. So that's just kind of where we are. Now the question turns to, who are the candidates? Who are the names that we can actually look at that we feel are going to bring Kentucky into a new era of college football?
Yeah, and I want to say this too, Bear. I think that just at some point things run their course. And like you said, he had been the longest tenured coach there. And just, yeah, at some point the message becomes stale and you never just make change for the sake of it. But when results start to slip and we're in a place in college football, and especially too, like if you're in year 1 and year 2 and it's rough, you're going to get year 3. But like when you're in what was he in, year 13? I think this was year 13.
13 or 14.
Yeah, 13 or 14. When you're that deep in your tenure, and you start getting back-to-backs, 4 and 8s, 5 and 7s, whatever, and the trajectory starts to go down, and you can no longer even sell your message, sell the program. That's when you got to make a change. I mean, but you think of what he did at Kentucky. You already just mentioned it, Bear. 2 10-win seasons. He had an 8-win season as well. Couple, you mix a bunch of 7-win seasons. I got to be honest with you. I don't know that what Mark Stoops did at Kentucky will ever be matched.
Yeah.
Because I think, here's the thing, Cole. Think of how much success Mark Stoops had at Kentucky. And people will scoff at that. Again, they had a lot of success there. They did. And I don't feel like the perception of Kentucky football has changed hardly at all. Like, I feel like Kentucky is going to go back to being Kentucky, in my personal opinion. Right. I mean, I just think about it. When he took over, they went 2 and 10 their first year. They were awful. I mean, Kentucky and Vandy used to be looked at in the conference, as like, this is a kick-in. This is a glorified scrimmage. We're probably going to be a 3 or 4 touchdown favorite. Like, no big deal. And that's not to say that there wasn't any point in history where Kentucky or Vandy or others, specifically sticking with Kentucky,
we're playing to Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Right. I mean, they've given teams issues. I'm not saying they haven't had good teams, but like Kentucky was what it was. Like, you looked at them as like, that should be a win on our schedule. And Kentucky Vandy was typically for them to get their 1 SEC win. Maybe they get 2 and they upset somebody, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Even
with these 10-win seasons, 8-win season, bunch of 7s, like I don't really view Kentucky as like, man, this is a great job. Like, you could argue this is the hardest job in the conference. It's right there with Arkansas. It's right there with Mississippi State. It's right there with South Carolina. But like, I'd probably put Kentucky. I'd probably say it's the most difficult job in the conference, because here's the problem. Dude, you're second fiddle to basketball.
Yep.
Like, you're always going to be second fiddle to basketball. We all recall when Mark Stoops and John Calipari were butting heads. You ain't going to come in there and overtake Mark Pope and overtake the basketball program. They are a basketball school.
Keep in mind that also softball has been to the College World Series. Baseball has been to the College World Series. They have Olympic athletes in swimming and in track and field, and also in the gymnastics program. Women's basketball has gotten to a playoff appearance. I mean, gotten to the tournament several times. It's like you're 4th, maybe, if not 3rd, or if best 2nd. That's where you are.
With that being said, do I think it's a job somebody should take a chance on? Hey, you're still in the SEC. Like, yeah, for sure. For sure. Come cut your teeth in the SEC. But hey, I don't know. I don't know where they go. I don't know what I would imagine this is one you probably have to go out, hire a coordinator, try to find some, up and coming young coach. I don't know exactly, again, who that's going to be. I have no clue who that's going to be, to be honest with you right now, but
I'll have a hot board video out tomorrow at some point, so we'll go through that. I'll tell you 3 names that I'm looking at right now. Number 1 is Will Stein at Oregon. I'm automatically going for him. He's a native of Kentucky. He played at Louisville, but he is a native of Kentucky. His offense has been so dynamic at every single stop that he's been to, including his last 2 with UTSA and then Oregon. He came on in and replaced a really promising guy in Kenny Dillingham and didn't miss a beat. They went 13-0 last season. Dante Moore comes on in, really good quarterback play. You got a guy in Cutter Boley that you think could be your future at the position. Go ahead and develop him. Number 2, I call Brian Hartline. According to reports, Brian Hartline at Ohio State is interested in becoming a head coach. He's probably not going to get the Penn State job. So I think that you have to go ahead and convey yourself and say, would you take Kentucky? Turn this program into a very prolific offense to where we can believe that in a few years you aren't going to be here much longer, but we can get a good foundation in place and believe that times have changed. We know that you're going to leave us. You view us as a destination job, but you cut your teeth in the SEC. And the 3rd name is Dan Mullen. The reason I say Dan Mullen is because the man wins. The man simply just wins. He does. But the problem that he hated was he didn't like to recruit. And at a place like Florida, recruiting is your backbone. Recruiting is your bloodlines. And it's not going to fly that you are a coach that does not believe in recruiting 24/7 and trusting the transfer portal. You know where that does happen? Kentucky. They're not going to care where your recruiting numbers are. They want to see you win. And you can continuously win in the portal. You can continuously win with development of talent. And they'll take 8-4 and they'll run like it's the freaking Super Bowl. And Dan Mullen can get you to 8-4. Damon's a damn good coach. Damon is a coach that I think would absolutely come on in and be able to strengthen this roster. Those would be my top 3 names.
You ain't got to sell me on Dan Mullen very much, Cole. I'm a Dan Mullen guy, so would love to see him back in the SEC. But Mark Stoops is out. Guys, we'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments on it. Right move, wrong move. It was time. It was time. I think it was just time. It was a nice story late in the season. Thought maybe Mark Stoops might have found a way back, but this might be for the best, to be honest with you. Rip the Band-Aid off, get it over with. A new era of Kentucky football is on deck. Bear, like I mentioned, I want to get in these other 3 coaching hires really quickly. I know, again, you spent a lot of time on this today, so I will be pretty quick and tidy with it, and we'll just kind of give some overarching thoughts. We'll talk certainly more about this as we go throughout the week and just continue to break down. There'll be more news, I'm sure, certainly around these. I want to start with the one in Florida, Gainesville, the Gators, because they were in on the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes. They obviously swing and miss. Friday, we get the news essentially around the Egg Bowl. Hey, Florida's a non-factor. They're not even in this race anymore. It is Jon Sumrall from Tulane that is your next head coach of the Florida Gators. I love, by the way, we've got a Gator in here that has either already changed his handle or this is a new user and somebody tuned to the show. Thank you so much. Summer All In says Florida stuffed Kentucky and Auburn in a locker for Sumrall, who was their top target.
Yeah, of course it was.
Here's what I'll say about the Jon Sumrall thing. It is a horrific look from an optics standpoint. Is that fair to Jon Sumrall?
No.
Not necessarily. No. But Louisiana coach, G5 Louisiana coach coming to Gainesville trying to resurrect the program. Where have we heard that before? Right. Billy Napier was a G5 coach from the state of Louisiana. Now, I love what I heard from Jon Sumrall today, Bear, that, hey, what did he say? It's not just the standard. It's mandatory that Florida have an elite offense. We're going to go get elite offensive staff. We're going to go get a coordinator. That is music to Florida fans' ears. That's music to our ears. Thank goodness. Go out there and surround yourself with an elite level staff. Here's the reality of it, Cole. I don't know. I don't know how many games Jon Sumrall is going to win. I think he's a good coach. I do think he's a good football coach. But I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be the guy to get the Gators back to the SEC title game. I don't know if he's going to get the Gators back to the playoff. I don't know if he's going to win a national championship at Florida. Those things are kind of hard to predict. Again, everybody in this cycle essentially is a roll of the dice. We'll talk about Golesh in a second. Roll the dice. The Silverstein dude, roll the dice. Even Lane Kiffin, a bit of a roll of the dice. Whoever takes the Kentucky job, same thing. I don't know how Scott Strickland still got a job is my thing. I really don't. I don't know how Scott Strickland is still employed in Gainesville. I don't get it. I don't get it. Some of the things we heard about the coaching search and some candidates that were not interviewed because of certain preferences by Scott. I don't get it. I don't get it. I thought it was really telling, Bear, a text that I got today from a friend of mine, I would say a friend of ours that covers Florida or used to cover more Florida, a little bit more in depth. Some of the comments that he made to me that I thought were really telling. He says, Florida has officially downgraded as a football program. Haven't spoken to a single source in the building at Florida or around it that is a fan of this hire. I wonder if we're at a point where, like, you have to admit Florida is not who we once thought them to be, if that makes sense. Like, it's been a long time since Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow and Brandon Spikes and some of these other dudes, Percy Harvin, since those dudes walked through the door. Like, at some point, maybe you're not that program. I don't know. Again, I don't want to, like, hammer this Jon Sumrall hiring too hard because we just don't know. There's really no way for me to sit here and predict one way or another that, man, this is either going to be a surefire success or a surefire failure or whatever it might be. But I know from the Gators fan base perspective, it feels underwhelming. The optics of it suck because of where he was at and the level that he was at. I'm already seeing comments about Sunbelt Sumrall, which I'm like, oh my, like it's too early. It's too early for that. It's not go there yet. I don't know, Bear. It's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. I really just, I don't know, because I think he's a good coach. But I think Florida in its own way is a hard job. I'll put it that way.
Just going to speak my mind for about 2 seconds. Just bear with me, okay? I love the hire. I think it was honestly the best hire of the day. Personally. I really do. I think Jon Sumrall is about to become one of the elite coaches in college football. I truly do think that the way that he goes about his business, the way that he conducts himself, and the way that he demands excellence and is all in. And I've spoken to a lot of people. I have a lot of people out in New Orleans that tell me about who Jon Sumrall is. He is a nuts and bolts, honest to the skin of his laurels, all in on a program type of guy. I think that they nailed the hire and that he is going to transform Florida into a program that we are going to respect. From an attitude standpoint, I think that he is perfect. He is exactly what you need. Do you remember a few weeks ago, they won a game, I think it was against Rice or something like that, and it was a really underwhelming performance. And Jon Sumrall in the camera, after being interviewed, was told reporters, I don't think we deserve to be ranked. I don't think that we deserve to be in the college football playoff conversation. We look like crap. Do you understand how refreshing that has to be coming on in to a program like Florida that has accepted mediocrity and accepted the ineptitude of coaches not being content with not being content with their program and their play design and settling in on just this idea? Like, quite literally, if Jon Sumrall was the head coach at Wake Forest saying what he said, if he was the head coach at Kentucky, if he was the head coach at Oregon State, I think Florida fans would be elated to know this guy is running the program, this guy is coming on in, and he is going to be better for us. I think it is a slam dunk hire from the defensive standpoint. I think that he is one of these super oriented dudes. He is cut from the same cloth as like Dan Lanning. He is going to be fully invested in Florida. I think it's an awesome hire. The problem is that Florida fans are saying, well, we hired a guy from Louisiana that couldn't get the job done despite having a really good resume at the G5 level. And now we're hiring a dude from the state of Louisiana who couldn't get the job, who probably is going to get the job done from the G5 level. Like, that's it. If he was anywhere else, you would love the hire. So, I mean, my God, give the dude a freaking chance to actually cut his teeth before making up your mind on who he is as a guy. It's a smart move. It's a really good move. And I'll tell you what, there are people all across the country who will tell you if we had Jon Sumrall as a coach, we would be beyond elated. So shut up if you're one of these Florida fans thinking that you deserve better. I'll tell you what the problem is. Be mad at Scott Strickland and the Board of Regents and the people who were pulling the strings on how they went about this coaching search. Because of guess what? I'll be the first to tell you, they could have hired Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley's people reached out and they said, dude, you want him? Make him an offer. He'll come. Nah, you didn't want Lincoln Riley. Hey, Jed Fish, former disciple underneath Steve Spurrier, the head ball coach, former Florida alum, great work at Washington this year, incredible work rebuilding a program out in Arizona, NFL background, knows offense. Not my guy. Scott Strickland dictated this entire premise based off of, we're going to get Lane Kiffin. We're going to put all of our eggs in the Lane Kiffin basket, and he is going to be our coach. And you know what happened? You didn't get Lane Kiffin. So ultimately, you had to start panicking, and you didn't know what to do, and you somehow lucked into a really smart hire. But you preached this method of it was Lane Kiffin or bust, and you showed yourself the door. Let's just be completely honest, Chris. The reason why Scott Strickland has not been fired at this point is because Todd Golden won a national championship. That's the only reason why he has a job. With what's going on with the Kevin O'Sullivan stuff, with the stuff that happened with Todd Golden earlier in the tenure, and then the Billy Napier deal, and also you have to throw in the Dan Mullen contract, all of it, there's a reason why Scott Strickland has a job. One team has won a national title, and he saved his ass. You should be pissed off at Scott Strickland, but you should give Jon Sumrall a chance.
That, and I think there not being a president probably I don't know. Maybe that's got something to do with it. I will say for the mess that it kind of was, I agree with you. They ran into a really good hire in Jon Sumrall. I like I said, a lot of unknowns, but I think Sumrall is a good coach. I do. I think if you can remove the whole optics side of it from the I think it more bothers Gators fans than like it bothers me or you, because I think he's a good football coach. And I mean, dude, call me crazy. Who knows? Maybe this works out better than the Lane Kiffin thing. You never. I know that sounds crazy to say right now, but maybe.
I'll be completely honest. I think that Jon Sumrall, for the money that you're going to pay him on a 6-year deal, may be just as beneficial as what Lane Kiffin's getting paid at LSU. I'm fully convinced in it. Yeah. I will say you got to keep a lot of the players. Jaden Baugh is like a non-negotiable. Congratulations to him on being a 1,000-yard running back. Jaden Baugh is non-negotiable. Probably Dallas Wilson's a non-negotiable. The collective's got to pay for them. You bring in the right offensive coordinator, I could see you get to 8+ wins, 9 wins next year. That's a pretty good start for a coach that's coming from the G5 level.
Jon Sumrall, the next man in Gainesville. The Sumrall era officially begins for Florida. Bear, let's talk a little bit. Alex Golesh taking over at Auburn. This one was really interesting. From the standpoint of it sounded like DJ Durkin was going to get the job, be the next head coach. And in the last hours, Alex Golesh comes out from South Florida, gets the job. I will say I love the hire. I actually love the hire here of Alex Golesh. I think addressing the needs on the offensive side of the football. This is a guy, obviously, that worked under Josh Heupel. It speaks for itself what he did in Knoxville, what he led, obviously, the development of guys like Joe Milton, Hendon Hooker, what he's done down at South Florida, heck, beating that Florida team in the swamp this past season. Very excited about the hiring of Alex Golesh. What does the rest of the staff look like? We shall see all these staffs. Obviously, we're not 110% sure what that looks like for all of these. But, Cole, I like the hire, man. I like the hire of Alex Golesh. Auburn's another one of those jobs where, being at Jordan-Hare in person, obviously, yesterday, man, that place, when it's right, dude, Jordan-Hare's a fun place to watch a game. It's a big-time environment. It's a big-time fan base. It's a big-time program. I think Golesh is a guy that can move that thing in the right direction. I think he's certainly an upgrade from what Hugh Freeze was. We'll see how it plays out. But I love this move personally.
I don't hate it. I think it was a very solid hire because, number one, it's not DJ Durkin. And I say this out of respect because I know that there was a lot of people who wanted DJ Durkin to be the head coach. You're not going to convince me going 0-2 in conference play and 1-2 overall as the interim. You are the right guy to be leading the charge. Sorry, just can't buy me in. So
do you think he sticks on the staff as the DC?
You can't bring Todd Orlando with you from South Florida. You just can't. So I think that you should offer him it.
Obviously the defense was really good. So,
if he wants the job, it's his to lose, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that's very fair. You give him the opportunity to stick around because also keep in mind, part of the reason why they've seen such progress when it comes to defense is the recruiting that they've had over the last few years. And they have really good players on that side of the football to where I think they're going to be really well positioned next season defensively to once again make a run. It's an upgrade offensively over from what you have with Hugh Freeze. I get that the go-go offense that you're running for it is very, very different and unique. He has success in the SEC. He was able to run a high prolific offense with great quarterback play with Hendon Hooker when he was at Tennessee. His name was brought up at other SEC jobs, and he picked you. So again, it's a big win. I do think that his gimmicky offense is something that could end up hurting him at times when it comes to recruiting. I think it's going to be really important to make sure that you retain the right offensive pieces in play. Cam Coleman potentially being one. Malcolm Simmons after yesterday's game 100% being one. I would probably say you have to throw on in what you got in the backfield with Jeremiah Cobb. He's got another year. I think that you have to retain Deuce Knight in some capacity because he's a great mobile quarterback, and the mobility at the quarterback position is really important for this offense. I think that you can bring in really promising players to work this show. I still have to see it. The thing about Auburn that I will always believe is it is the toughest job in college football because of what the expectations and the reality of the programs are. So Alex Golesh is entering a place where they believe you should be competing for national titles. They believe you should be competing right alongside Alabama and Georgia and LSU for top 10 recruiting classes, and they will give you the money to go ahead and make that a reality. So if you can't make that a reality, then guess what happens? They put pressure on you immediately. So you're going to have to start to show results. But it is an upgrade over Hugh Freeze, and I think it's a smarter move than going out with getting a guy in DJ Durkin. There were other names you could have targeted, Jon Sumrall being one, probably would have been the best fit. Alex Golesh is a pretty nice consolation prize.
Yeah, I like the Golesh. I mean, I agree with you. I like it more than DJ Durkin. I do. And from what I was told, too, it sounds like Durkin was the guy until pretty late in this process, and they were able to go out there and snag an Alex Golesh, who, funny enough, I mean, Bear, we were talking about this last week, was reported to be Arkansas's next head coach. So kudos to Auburn for going out there and snagging him. Kudos to Alex Golesh for ending up landing on the Plains and being the next head coach. And with that being said, the final one we'll discuss, Bear, Ryan Silverfield, the Memphis head coach who, ironically enough, beat Arkansas earlier this season. He is now the next head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks. Bear, this one's tough. The reaction today has not been good, to say the very least. We have had a protest. We have had social media losing its collective mind when it comes to Hog Nation. Let me ask you this, Bear. Has the reaction and the backlash to the Silverstein hiring been justified or over the top?
Over the top. Over the top. Because of it's directed at the wrong person. Now, a lot of it isn't. So
we know where it should go.
So I'll start with this. I am pulling for Ryan Silverfield. I like him as a coach. I really do. And when the initial firing was made by Sam Pittman, I actually said the number one option they should go after was Ryan Silverfield. The problem is that he started to deteriorate down the stretch. He lost 3 of his last 4 games. He lost 2 of them in blowout fashion. They lost to UAB that was with an interim coach that weekend. Now, it does have wins over Eric Morris and Alex Golesh, who were 2 other names that were linked to the job. But it was a really souring finish at Memphis this year after 2 really good seasons back-to-back. I hope that he's able to get the job done. The backlash needs to come to Hunter Yurachek. It does. All of the neglect, all of the BS with the 6-7 crap, all of the overall overwhelming persona of where you are. This is the best you could do. I think that's really what the case is. You had so many other options, and they all said no. And you somehow landed with Ryan Silverfield, who, again, I think is a solid coach. And he does not deserve any of this blame. But you didn't listen to your fans. And I can't sit here and live in a world where it's just like, hey, he wants to be at Arkansas. Yeah, well, someone has to be at Arkansas. Someone has to want to be at Arkansas. Didn't you deal with this before when you had the Sam Pittman hire? Sam Pittman, not our first choice, not our second choice, not even our third choice, but he wants to be in Arkansas, man. Isn't that like what you got? And the results were 32 and 34 on 1 9-win season. Like, is that what it is? You didn't listen to your fans. And my biggest thing at this point is, why did you have to go get Ryan Silverfield? Chris, I got a better question for you. Why did Eric Morris turn you down for Oklahoma State? Why did Alex Golesh look at our Auburn and say, with all of their overwhelming expectations, still a better job than our Arkansas? Why did James Franklin laugh when we wanted to hire him? Why were all of these names and all of these people not looking at us and saying, that's a premier job? You don't care about football. That's the bottom line. Your boosters don't, your donors don't, and the richest names in the state do not care. And Hunter Yurachek is not able to go out and get the right funding to be able to fix the program. But the problem here, Chris, is that Arkansas fans and Arkansas boosters, they say, just get to 8 wins. You can get to 8 wins, right? And you go 2-10. So unrealistic expectations when you don't put in the right resources. So it didn't matter who you hired, because if you're not going to get the right resources to build around a coach, you're going to stay povertish. So I feel for Ryan Silverfield. It's an underwhelming hire. I don't think he's the problem. The problem is the program. The problem is Hunter Yurachek, and the problem is the boosters. Best of luck to you, dude.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about Scott Strickland. I mean, Hunter Yurachek's probably on a hotter seat than he is. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, man. It's the Arkansas program to me is so strange. I don't understand why there's a lack of commitment to winning. I feel like it's a program that should be able to make a college football playoff. Not every year, obviously, but like once a decade. That doesn't seem like a crazy ask. And even that, to some Arkansas folks I talk to is scoffed at and looked at as crazy. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't know why. I've been to Fayetteville. You've been to Fayetteville. It's an awesome place. Great fan base. Awesome fan base. They deserve so much better than what they've gotten. Yeah, especially too, it's like how we got to this hire. I think that's one of the most troubling things. Obviously, like some of the guys you swung and missed on and, you didn't have an opportunity with because of your lack of commitment, your lack of resources or funding or what have you. Like these coaches obviously want to be able to surround themselves with great people who are going to help them get to the top. So your lack of willing to commit to do that, the fact that it puts you in this position, and I think that's one of the most disturbing things too. So that Bear, it could have been Alex Golesh, it could have been whoever, and like the whole Golesh thing was outrageous with it leaks early, and he got pissed, and from what we were told, that upset him, and he cut off all ties with Arkansas. And then he obviously takes the Auburn job. Like I said it today on social media, he dodged a bullet.
Yeah,
the Arkansas job is incredibly difficult. Like and it's being viewed as that way now. I mean,
you could make a case that it is as tough as a job, if not a tougher job than Kentucky, because the booster still wants you to get to 8 wins. And it's not possible with the current status of where you are with spending. It just isn't. You're codependent on the transfer portal. And think about this. You know what they used to be able to do? They used to be able to tell Texas and Oklahoma kids, we're an SEC brand. That means something here. Not anymore. Not anymore. The city of Dallas, that's Oklahoma country. That's Texas country. That's Texas A&M country. And then TCU and Baylor are going to say, you're like 7th now in the pecking order there. You don't own that spot anymore. You don't get to have that ties. So it's a tough job.
Yeah, really, really difficult job. We'll see what Silverfield can do. Coming in from Memphis, again, he beat the Hogs this season, but certainly an uphill climb there in Fayetteville. Bear, believe it or not, we did have football on the field this past weekend, rivalry weekend. As the regular season is in the books, we're going to get into all these games really quickly, run through them, take your questions, your comments. Before we do, though, I do want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, because as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Guys, it's NBA tip-off week. FanDuel's your home for live betting. Even if you miss the start of the game or you're going to ride the hot hand, FanDuel's got live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can combine your live bets in a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join, because FanDuel's giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Once again, that is FanDuel.com/SECU to sign up today. FanDuel.com/SECU. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Cole, like I mentioned, the regular season is in the books. It all got going, of course, on Friday and then into Saturday with rivalry weekend. Let's start with these games that took place on Friday. Bear, of course, I was at the game Friday at the Egg Bowl, Saturday at the Iron Bowl. So we can start really quickly Friday with the Egg Bowl. We've talked the heck out of this Lane Kiffin thing, what it means for Ole Miss. But like we said, there was a game that took place, and this game was belt to ass. Ole Miss came in. They were not distracted like one me said they were going to be. They came in. They dominated. Trinidad Chambliss with 359 through the air, 4 touchdowns. They ran for 186. Kawan Lacey was great yet again, 27 for 143, and really just shut Mississippi State down too on the defensive side. Now, State, 262 yards on the ground. They were able to run the football, and Kamario Taylor was a massive, massive part of that. 173 yards on the ground to his credit, 2 touchdowns. His rushing ability was like the one thing that really kept this game alive for Mississippi State. But Bear, Ole Miss, too much at the end of the day. A lot of craziness can happen on rivalry weekend, but the bottom line with this game, the better team just won, flat out.
Number one, that may have been your worst prediction of the year, quite literally. Now, again, I completely understand why it was, because of you got to throw in the distractions. But to be completely transparent, That's why Ole Miss belongs in the college football playoff with or without Lane Kiffin. They had to deal with all the outside noise. They had to deal with all of the people who were commenting on what happens if Lane does leave. They had to hear about who was going to be the next head coach. What are they looking at certain things? And they delivered a performance to remember. My opinion, Trinidad Chambliss is the most impactful transfer of the college football season. Far and away. No questions asked. Keywan Lacey's probably right behind him. But Chris, this was his 7th game of over 300 passing yards and 2 total touchdowns, whether it be through the air and on the ground or just through the air. Phenomenal game. The ability to play with such tempo, the ability to know that he had his opportunities to strike downfield, the ability to be able to evade pressure, step on up and deliver strike after strike. He nearly had 3 touchdowns and Harrison Wallace dropped 2 of them. I mean, it was such a good game plan from what you saw from Ole Miss's offense. Over 425 yards through the air. They set the tempo very early on with the Keywan Lacey touchdown. They did a really, really, really good job of being able to build with the rapport and the consistency in the offensive personnel. Defensively, they were able to get after Kamario Taylor in the passing attack. They limited the explosive plays for Brennan Thompson and Anthony Evans. They only gave it those 2 touchdowns. They did a good job of keeping themselves poised whenever the moment started to shift in favor of Mississippi State. And they sit at 11-1, the greatest season we have seen at Ole Miss football. This team won this football game for the state of Mississippi because they want to leave no shred of doubt that they belong to the college football playoff and they would be hosting a playoff game. They didn't do it for Lane. They didn't do it for anybody else. They did it for themselves, and that is why they won. I will say, Kamario Taylor is going to be a problem next season if they can build around him. Dude is fun as hell to watch. And he's got everything that you want a quarterback. He's got arm strength. He's got mechanics. He's got mobility. Really interesting fit with him. Fluff Bothwell. What they're going to bring back at wide receiver with Anthony Evans probably being the number 1. Who can they bring into the transfer portal? Can they fix the offensive line? And Coleman Hutzler, you had a really good start. Brother, I think that your time is up in Starkville. You got to be able to have better defense. You're not having that right now. There's a lot of things that I think could change in favor of Mississippi State next season to where they are trending in the right direction, but still a loss is a loss. Not going to a bowl game is probably what people are going to be talking about.
Yeah, Cole, I thank you for reminding me of how great the prediction was going in. I can tell you this, being in Starkville. First off, thank you all the great folks of Starkville, Mississippi. Really, really fun time. I really thoroughly enjoyed myself. I cannot wait to get back. Special shout out my guy, Bart Height, former Mississippi State basketball player who showed me around. Had a really, really good time in the stadium. Also went to the basketball game on Friday night, which was very, very unexpected part of our weekend, going to these different games, what have you, been on the road. That being said, I will tell you, Bear, and again, I know we're talking about the game, what have you, but talking to someone on the Mississippi State staff, if you can believe that after the game, there's change coming. Yeah. And one name in particular that you mentioned on the defensive side, I do think his days are over in Starkville. I will fully expect to be hearing that news to drop literally any day, but I think there's going to be a big push made in the portal, a big investment made to get this thing to the next level next year, get to that 7-8 win mark. I don't think floating around or just having one conference win, it's just not good enough. It's not good enough. So there's going to be a push made by Mississippi State. I agree with you, Kamario Taylor, really fun player. We'll see what he can do next season for him, assuming, of course, he is there. But there's going to be some changes. There's going to be some changes made, no question, from what I was told. And I do think Coleman Hutzler is going to be one of them. So and it doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, it just doesn't surprise me. A lot of us thought he should have been gone after last year, and I get bringing him back, but I think you got to go out and get a more proven guy. And from what I've heard, they're going to spend money. They're going to spend money on that DC. So
good. I mean, you have to be able to build around your special players to make them believe that they belong to stick around with this program and they see an identity. This is the case. And you know what? Maybe you can. But for Ole Miss, you get a win. You get a convincing win. You get a double-digit win on the road. You guarantee your spot in the college football playoff. And I think that you prove that we have a team with or without Lane Kiffin, given the right matchups, we can do damage in the playoff.
Yeah, I would agree 110%. Again, that Ole Miss football team is legitimate in every sense of the word. 11-1 regular season, no-brainer playoff team. Should be, in my opinion, hosting a playoff game as well. The other two games on Friday, Bear, will start. I'll save the better one for last of Friday. Georgia beats Georgia Tech, first things first, 16-9 in Atlanta. This was kind of a disgusting game here.
Weird
Gunner,
game. Weird.
Yeah, strange game. Gunner Stockton threw for just 70 yards, touchdown and a pick. Georgia ran for 190 defensively, obviously. They were dominant in this football game. Haynes King, 19-27, 181, a pick. And Georgia Tech ran for just 69 yards in the contest. But Georgia holds on, gets the win. I mean, Cole, I'm not going to overreact to this one from the standpoint of how Georgia looked. Rivalry games are weird. Rivalry weekend is weird. You play a Brent Key team and you get Brent Key and Kirby Smart in a game like this. The physicality that you see on the field is special. It's fun to watch. Obviously, an offense was very, very hard to come by on both sides, 260 to 250, Georgia with the edge. They won the time of possession, 35-24. All in all, you get the win. Your ticket was already punched to Atlanta for the SEC title. But thoughts on this was Georgia? Like I said, this was a strange game all the way around.
You did a really good job of making Georgia Tech one-dimensional, and the way that you want to make them one-dimensional was through the air, because Haynes King is not known as a passer. He's known as a runner that can throw the football. So you did a great job defensively in that. I was very impressed with how well they were able to kind of keep everything in front of them. They kept them out of the end zone. I think they only got to they never got into the red zone. They only got into Georgia territory offensively 3 times all night. And the offense, again, Buster Faulkner, a guy who many people have praised for his offensive innovation, wasn't able to dial up anything. And then they were conservative. Instead of trying to go for it, they said, you know what? We're just going to take the points, and hopefully our defense can do enough of a job to get the ball back for us. And so holding them to 9 points was, I think, really impressive. Ellis Robinson, who was the critical player on that drive against Alabama that jumped on the pile and tacked on those 15 yards, has drastically transformed. And again, you figured that because it's the number 1 defensive back in the country, recruit in the country, had a beautiful interception in this game that really altered any bit of momentum in favor of Georgia Tech. What I thought was really interesting was, and this is where, again, I completely understand why Georgia fans hate Mike Bobo. Mike Bobo got into a situation of where it felt like, dude, just play the game. Like quite literally, just run the football. Be Georgia. Don't end up doing too much, and you're going to win. And it felt like he was trying to send a message to the playoff committee. Like, this is why when you face off against Georgia, we can beat you in so many ways. The pass rush, the pass protection wasn't there. The offensive line was in its stride. They had to put some freshmen on in. They weren't able to run the football efficiently. If I'm not mistaken, they were only averaging 4 yards a play. You only had 1 run of over 22 yards. Nate Frazier kind of got the ball rolling a little bit. Josh McCray kind of got the ball rolling a little bit, but not much. And they try to do too much with Gunner Stockton. Like, sometimes less is more. And it felt like this was one of those games where, again, Mike Bobo, you were never in jeopardy of losing, but you kept giving hope. You kept giving optimism to Georgia Tech. Don't do that. Like don't do that in a rivalry game. Just have normal game plan. But the good news is that you were the better team. You made fewer mistakes. You were able to run the football more efficiently. You won the time possession battle. You did all the right things that needed to happen for you to be good. And now you're going to be in the college football playoff. And better yet, because of a loss to another team, you were guaranteed to go to the SEC championship. You might as well just go ahead and stay in Atlanta for another week.
We'll talk about it more in a second. It is funny how we find a way to get back to such a familiar matchup in Atlanta between two teams that it seems like every year find their way there. Again, Georgia winning that slugfest of a game against Georgia Tech. We'll see what it means when they take on the Crimson Tide in Atlanta. I'm still a big believer in Georgia. I know you are too, but I'm not taking away much from the standpoint of hitting any sort of panic button or worrying about Georgia in this football game. Now, you mentioned, Bear, there's a reason that Georgia is in Atlanta. And the reason is because Friday night, the Texas Longhorns take down Texas A&M in Austin. Final score, 27-17. And, Bear, we talked about it all week, the mental advantage that Texas has in this showdown. But you and I believe that Texas A&M, simply put, just the better team, There was no way this was going to happen. Texas owns Texas A&M. That is the only way to put it. They own them. They own them. They own them in every sense of the word. The mental advantage is real for whatever reason. Texas A&M, they can't seem to beat these guys. And give Texas credit, who has heated up down the stretch and has played much better football. Do they deserve to be in the college football playoff? That's a whole other can of worms we might open up here in just a second. But 2 interceptions by Marcel Reed proved to be costly. Arch Manning stepped up in this football game, Bear, made that one big-time throw down the field that obviously was a huge part of this football game, had the rushing touchdown as well. Thoughts on what we saw in this ball game? Texas prevailing over Texas A&M. The big brother, little brother dynamic, man, it just played out once again.
I should have known better. I should have. And you remember in the preview, I paused and I said, I don't think that a team can go undefeated in the SEC this year.
Yep.
And I thought about it and I said, I'm going to eat so much crow. It was because I was sitting here and saying to myself, I'm going to watch as Texas A&M is able to finally crap the bed. And I said, you know what? Now I'm just going to pick Texas A&M. That's the right move. Quite literally on the spot, I made the switch. They own Texas A&M. That's just quite literally it. All the things that I thought were going to work in favor of Texas A&M was the reason why Texas won the football game. What do we know going into this matchup? The explosive plays from wide receivers have been so dominant this season for Texas A&M. Case Concepcion had one big play for 57 yards, and he ran in a touchdown. Nobody had more than 44 yards, and they allowed one play of over 20 yards downfield. Jack Andrews had 93 yards, and they had 4 explosive plays for Texas side. What else do we know? Well, Texas A&M can run the football. Texas A&M can run the football in so many different ways. They were held to, if I'm not mistaken, let me read the numbers. 4.6 yards of play and 157 yards, including their star running backs, both finishing with less yards than Marcel Reed. Meanwhile, Trey Wisner owns Texas A&M. Quite literally owns the Aggies. 157 yards on the day, 8.2 yards of play. Arch Manning gets that big time run with the 35-yard touchdown. All things you want to see. Offensive line, Texas A&M. They've been really good at being able to keep quarterbacks upright. Texas got after him. Like, Texas consistently were able to put pressure on Marcel Reed. They finished with, I think, only 2 sacks in the night, but they had a pressure rate of, 48%. On top of that, there were multiple turnovers coming from the likes of Arch Manning. We had seen pretty clean games so far from Texas A&M's Marcel Reed. He had 2 interceptions inside Texas territory. Complete and total night and day switch up. It was a Freaky Friday moment of all Freaky Friday moments on a Friday night in Austin. That was it. Credit where credit's due. Steve Sarkisian dialed up a beautiful game plan offensively. Pete Kwiatkowski told every single one of those defensive players, do you really want to be known as the team that went 8-4 as the preseason number 1? Do you really want to be able to go ahead and go down that way? And the switch up that we saw in the second half was the reason why Texas dominated. At one point, they outgained Texas A&M like 169-35 in the third quarter. So many things that were necessary adjustments got Texas involved, and they looked like a top 12 team in college football. Bottom line. With that being said, you are not going to the college football playoff. And it's not your fault. I mean, it is, because you shouldn't have lost by 25 points to Georgia on national television, and you shouldn't have lost to Florida in the swamp. But it's not your fault, because if you needed chaos to happen, there wasn't enough chaos to happen over the weekend to guarantee your spot into the top 10.
And it's interesting, Bear, because I think the conversation of the weekend came between Vanderbilt and Texas, and we'll get more into Vandy in a second, but there's a chance both of them are left out.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter about the debate of who beat who head-to-head. There's a good chance that neither one of them go, which, again, we'll talk more about Vandy in a second. But, I don't think Texas is going either. I wouldn't put them in. I think that loss to Florida you can't lose to Florida that way and expect to be in. A Florida team that was as bad as they were, I get the frustration with one of your losses is to Ohio State, and if you'd have played so-and-so FCS team to start the year, you're 10-2. Is it a moot point? Maybe so, but, you scheduled that game. So, I don't lose to Florida. Don't lose to a bad Florida team. Bottom line.
I'll go a step further, dude. Don't get blown out by 25 points to Georgia on national television and lose to Florida. If you're 9-3 and you lose close to Georgia, there's an argument. There's at least an argument there. It's the fact that you lost that game and you also lost to Florida where you were outgained by 100 yards and you lost time possession by 11 minutes. And you lost a turnover battle. Like that's it. Can we all agree with that finally? Like, I'm commending you for scheduling that matchup against Ohio State. I would reward you, actually, for losing that game and being 9-3 for scheduling that. You're not in because of the other two SEC games.
It's just crazy to me still that, Cole, as we close it out on this game in the midst of one of Texas A&M's best seasons ever, they still find a way to lose to Texas.
Yeah.
The battered Aggie syndrome is not totally dead yet, unfortunately.
By the way, just like back to Texas, just like for a second when it comes to this kind of crap, guys. Anyone sitting out here and saying, "Well, we would have played a cupcake game. If we would have played a cupcake game." Okay, well, you played a cupcake game and you looked like crap against San Jose State, and you look like crap against who was the other team that you faced off against? UTEP. Like, remember those games? Because I do. I remember how bad you looked in those matchups. So spare me with the cupcake game. The problem is that, again, it's the SEC. You want to know what makes the SEC better than the Big Ten? The crappy teams in this conference are good enough to be able to beat up on good teams on any given Saturday. That's it. Sorry. Like, that's the difference between the Big Ten and the SEC. So spare me with that crap.
Cole, let's jump to the Saturday slate of games. Of course, I was at the Iron Bowl yesterday at Jordan-Hare Stadium, so I want to start there. Environment was incredible. I was grateful to just be at the Iron Bowl at Jordan-Hare. I got to see peak Jordan-Hare Stadium at times. That place, the lid came off. But Alabama goes in there, gets a 27-20 win in the Iron Bowl, thus punching their ticket to the SEC championship game. And yes, of course, it is Georgia and Alabama in Atlanta. Yet again, part number 158 million, it seems like, that we're going to get these two teams playing each other. But Bear, the bottom line is this. And also, by the way, 10-2 record. Bama, you feel pretty confident in saying they're in the college football playoff. Now, does the committee punish for – we'll talk more about this week. Do they punish for losing a conference title game? That's a conversation, unfortunately, that we have to have again. But bottom line, the Iron Bowl, I'll say this, lived up to the hype from what I was expecting and hoping for. Close game, down to the wire game. Obviously, Bama seals it with that Cam Coleman fumble at the very end. They're able to pull that ball away from him. Gutsy calls in this game. I mean, that Kalen DeBoer fourth down, that play across the middle where Ty Simpson, I believe it was Isaiah Horton, he hits coming across the field.
Yep.
The stones it took to call that. There was another one, I think, where I think they were in their own territory and they went forward on fourth down.
Yeah.
The stones that Kalen DeBoer had to have a couple of times, and it worked out in his favor. Can't say enough good things about it. Listen, you can say a lot of things about Kalen DeBoer. One thing you can't say, he's going to go down, or the one thing you can say, he's going to go down swinging. He is not going to cower at the moment. Those are big-time calls and big-time moments in a game where they said, you know what, not only is this season on the line, my job potentially, at least from the fan base perspective, is on the line. You convert, you make those big plays. Bear, it wasn't pretty. I mean, Alabama of late, they have not been that same well-oiled machine that we had seen before. But Ty Simpson throws 3 touchdowns. You rush for 158 yards, and you do just enough defensively. The thing that felt weird about that game, Bear, being in the stadium, I mean, Auburn offensively was terrible. They're just bad. Like, they're broken. I don't remember the last time I was at a game and saw a team drop so many passes. I mean, it was just drop after drop after drop after drop. And still, Auburn found a way to stay in this game. They get down, obviously, 17-0. They storm all the way back. Again, typical Iron Bowl fashion. It comes down to the very end. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, maybe we get overtime, but the Cam Coleman fumble, Alabama finds a way to win the game. Your thoughts on this one? We saw a little bit of that Jordan-Hare voodoo, but it was Bama with, I thought, the voodoo plays in the game with, like I said, that fourth down conversion at the goal line and that fourth down in your own territory took stones, man. You had to go out there and take that game from Auburn, and Bama did it.
Look, I'll tell you right now, it's not 4th and 31. It's not 1 second left on the clock. It's not 4 overtimes. But Kalen DeBoer made his mark on the Iron Bowl history with the call on 4th down. Because again, nobody is just saying, let's go for 7. We're in Talty's field goal range. It's a chip shot. I get that he's missed some kicks before. He ain't missing that one. You got to have a tip ball to be able to miss that one. It's perfect. You get 3 points. You take the lead. You try a defense that's able to make some critical stops. Nobody just says, hey, you know what, screw it. He went for it, and he did not miss. That is what you call a straight-up gangster moment in your first Iron Bowl of Jordan-Hare, where the voodoo shaman man made sure to where, hey, magic may come on out. We're letting Malcolm Simmons score this touchdown, and we're going to put you on the edge of your seat. Credit where credit's due. Number one, this is why Kalen DeBoer is the right guy to replace Nick Saban. Because if he looks at opportunities and says, fuck it, go for it. Swing that big John. Go ahead and do so. Because you got to do it. That's what it takes to win in Alabama. And he does that. So I can appreciate that. But the other thing that you also got to remind yourself of is that this game comes down to the crazy moments. And how fitting in our prediction, a little bit different, but I said that Deontay Lawson was going to be making the play of the game. I said it was going to be a pick 6. Instead, it ended up being the biggest fumble against the best player that Auburn had to guarantee that win. Now, there are some things I will say. They got bailed out of trouble on multiple instances. That is just a straight up fact. Auburn in this game had 10 penalties for 84 yards.
How about that roughing the passer call?
A roughing the passer call, 3 pass interference calls, 3 holding calls. That absolutely, 2 of them, 1 on 4th down, I also might add, that would have been a turnover on downs. That absolutely could have gone either way, and it would have made sense. To be fair, on the opposing side, yes, there was an opportunity where naturally Alabama got some calls that went against them, gave life to Auburn for a second chance. It was a very sloppy game. It was a game that came down to a matter of moments who had momentum at the right time. And ultimately, Alabama survives and scare in the Iron Bowl. But there's a lot of things that they got to clean on up. There's a lot of things that I worry about when it comes to their opportunity of winning an SEC title. I still don't know if they're guaranteed to be in the college football playoff. I really don't. But I will say, you made sure to silence the doubters and the critics that you did not make the case. You have 4 wins against SEC-ranked opponents back-to-back-to-back weeks. You have that record. You've had Kirby Smart's number. Alabama has had Kirby Smart's number. And now you're going to Atlanta, and you're guaranteeing that they have to find a reason to keep you on out. You did all that. Auburn, again, offensively, you were just a mess. You relied far too heavily on the explosive plays. You got them. There's something to be said about Ashton Daniels. There are some things that you can really like. The interception, really good play by, I think it was Pierre, the block at the line of scrimmage that eventually led to the Bray Hubbard interception. Bad fumble by Cam Coleman. You had momentum. There's things that you can look at that you can say, we're going to keep around. Alex Golesh, come fix it. There's some things you just got to go ahead and say, we swung and missed this season. A lot of things that really ended up souring on us that probably we need to have that need to be fixed immediately if we want to actually win. Because 5-7 with how much we spent this offseason with a top 10 recruiting class back-to-back years, even for our standards of, hey, we reached too high, that is beyond inexcusable.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of Golesh's biggest challenges early on, I think one of his top objectives is going to be change the culture. It's two sides where Alabama makes winning plays and Auburn does not make those winning plays, and they make losing plays. The interception you're talking about, Bear, the Ashton Daniels one, that was the one that ball tipped off the receiver's hands, correct? The tip ball?
I believe it. Yes, I believe so.
Because from my vantage point, I thought he threw a laser and it went off his hands and went up, and the guy Hubbard just literally was standing right there and caught it. I don't remember
if his hands or it went off like Latsier Pierre's. I mean, if it went off Pierre's hands as he was trying to make the pass interference pass breakout. It went off the hands of somebody that hung forever in the air.
I think it was off the receiver's hands. I think it was like a running back on a check down or something like that. It was weird too, like even offensively when they'd have a big play, like the big touchdown they had. You might recall on that when it was everybody in the stadium thought that was coming back. There was a flag on the play, everybody thought that was coming back. And so even like the cheering on that play was very subdued because it's like, oh, wait, oh, it is a touchdown. So it's like even when something good happened for Auburn offensively, I don't know, the vibe for them was just offensively was strange. But bottom line, Alabama finds a way. It's Georgia-Bama yet again. We'll have the conversation a lot more. Obviously, what does the outcome of this game mean? Does Alabama need to win? Do they need to keep it to a certain margin to make sure they are in the college football playoff? That is going to be a big story here as Bama sitting really just right on the edge of the rankings. But bottom line, like you said, Kalen DeBoer makes his mark in the Iron Bowl, 27-20. Yeah, that fourth down call, stones. Nothing short of stone. Swing that Big John, Kalen.
Do it.
Swing that Big John. You got to have it.
Now, real fast, before we move on from this bigger picture, what is the margin of error that Alabama can have to guarantee their spot still in the college football playoff? The playoff committee, I think, is going to reward you for playing a game that wasn't promised at the start of the year. But the reason why SMU got in was because of SMU only lost by 3.
Yeah, I think you need to lose within a touchdown.
I go 10 points. I think if it's a double-digit loss, then we open up the conversation for especially if BYU beats Texas Tech. If that happens, completely different thing. 10 points or fewer, I think you're in. If it's 21, even if I think Alabama deserves to be in over an ACC team, I don't think the playoff committee is going to let you win.
Interesting. And I guess Bama wins, they're in the top 4 automatically or no?
I don't know if they would be in the top 4 automatically, but at that point, I think you'd have to put them in there for one reason. You can't tell Georgia, who's going to move to who's number 3 in the country right now, and is going to be number 3 on Tuesday night when the college football playoff rankings come out. You can't say that they fall to number 4 when Alabama would have head-to-head wins against them, and both losses would come to Bama. So at some point, Bama would have to jump Georgia in the ranking. Yeah. So at worst, 5th, you host the G5 team. Best, probably 4th.
I'm selfishly asking for I'm trying to think about what the layout will be for who gets the home playoff game.
Well, Georgia, I think, is getting a home playoff game regardless if they don't get the first round bye. And I think Alabama would get at best the 4th seed, at worst the 5th seed.
Yeah.
So they'd get a home playoff game too.
Interesting to say the very least. Yeah, it's going to be a fun talking point throughout this week as we get ready for Georgia, Alabama yet again. Selfishly, I'm pumped to see those two back in Atlanta because I love when Georgia and Alabama play each other. It's just an electric atmosphere, an electric game. Bear, let's jump to what took place in Knoxville. Diego Pavia and the Vanderbilt Commodores put belt to ass, 45-24. The Vanderbilt Commodores finished with their best regular season in school history, winning 10 games in the regular season for the first time ever. Who'd have thought? I mean, just take a moment to appreciate this. Who would have thought before the season Vandy realistically was going to finish 10-2? They're going to win 10 games this season. Even the most optimistic of fan would have probably said that I was crazy, but that's exactly what they do. Diego Pavia, he does throw 2 picks in the game, had a touchdown, but he runs for 165 yards, scores a touchdown. Cedric Alexander runs 10 times for 115. He scores 3 times. Bear, Vandy as a team ran for 314 yards and had 5 rushing touchdowns on the day. Meanwhile, it was Vandy defensively held Tennessee in check. And this game obviously tied 21-21.5. And, man, the Doors just dominated the second half, took what was theirs in Rocky Top. They get the big win over Tennessee. We try to tell them the year of the Commodore, Diego Pavia, he better be in New York. Give him the damn Heisman. I loved what you had to say, Bear, on social media. If it's about the most valuable player, the player that's had the greatest impact for his own team, Diego freaking Pavia is that guy. And like we said going in, Bear, Diego Pavia had one final promise that he had to fulfill, And sure enough, he did it, and he made sure everybody knew about it in the postgame because he told everybody, I told y'all we were going to run the state of Tennessee, and here we are. He said it with a little more colorful language. It was a hell of a weekend for the Pavias. Father and brother got arrested. No big deal. The Pavias were partying. We're 10-2. Put the damn doors in the playoff, man. Put them in the playoff.
It's a shame that they're not probably going to go. It is. Because if you are right, there's something else that you forgot to mention here, Chris. It's not only they went 10-2. They went 10-2 with wins over LSU, who many people thought was a playoff team. Wins over Tennessee, who also was finishing 9-3 and did a really good job. Who could have finished the year 9-3. And again, it's a rivalry matchup. And their only 2 losses came to Texas, where they nearly came back to win, which again, we could talk about the brownie points or the garbage touchdowns or whatever. Nearly came back to win. And Alabama, who's playing in the SEC title game. They delivered. The offensive switch up in the second half was phenomenal. 24-3 differential. Pavia took on over this game. He saw running lanes. He saw avenues. He saw creases. He took it on upfield, and he made sure that there was no doubt. 5 runs of over 20 yards downfield. After those 2 early interceptions responded, I will give Tennessee the benefit of the doubt. Tennessee probably did not need to have that roughing the passer called against them. But for him to be able to find Trey Richardson and tie the game and shift momentum in favor of the doors right before halftime is what you see from leaders. It's what you see from difference makers. It's what you see from dudes who are meant to be in New York for the Heisman Trophy presentation. And again, the reason why Vanderbilt is here is because of who they had at quarterback. Give a lot of credit to Clark Lee. Give a lot of credit to Jerry Kill. Give a lot of credit to what you have with Tim Beck, your offense coordinator. Give a lot of credit to the personnel around them and what they've been able to upgrade at. But you're here because of Diego Pavia. Bottom line, he is the reason that you're 10-2. He's the reason that Jared Curtis is looking at you as being as an actual destination in the recruiting as a 5-star talent. He is the reason why you were seeing players now flip their commitments and view Vanderbilt in this light. He's the reason why Clark Lee is getting a brand new extension and the culture is shifted for the better. Hate him all you want. Hate his attitude, hate his antics, hate the way that he talks, hate the way that he's boastful, hate the way that he presents himself. But I'll tell you one thing. The man does not miss. Every single promise that he made at the start of the year that people scoffed, belittled, and laughed at, delivered on every single one. And you know what he also did, Chris? He told the college football playoff committee, you just can't kick us out. Now you got to think about this for a minute. Because the easiest answer is, hey, you're 9-3. You don't have a signature win. Bye. Now you have to make them tell you no. You made sure that they had to tell you no. I tip my cap to you. Now Tennessee. Brother, you got to make some changes defensively. You got to make a lot of changes defensively. In no world could Vanderbilt, as much as I love Vanderbilt, just like I said last season, even with Alabama, there's certain priorities. Could be a down year. Could be a lost season. You don't lose to Vandy. At Tennessee, in Neyland Stadium, you do not allow 314 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns to be put up against you. 8.6 yards of play. You don't let that happen. You do not allow 5 plays of over 30 yards downfield through the air. You do not let that happen. This defense has taken a massive step back in a lot of ways, and that's on Tim Banks. Guys, someone's head's got to roll in this standpoint. Someone's got to take the blame here. And I can tell you right now, may end up not being the right guy, but somebody's got to pay for what happened yesterday. And Josh Heupel, you want to talk about it? Because
I'm about to say he may not be the one making the move.
Because Tim Banks may end up being the interim coach for the bowl game, for all we know. Guys, it's legit.
The reports to Happy Valley, yeah.
It's not a rumor. It's a legit conversation that's going on right now. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't know. But it is something that you have to monitor. It is.
Would you consider that an upgrade? Tennessee to Penn State?
Lateral at best.
Yeah.
Lateral at best. But you hit reset.
Yeah. Reset on your coaching clock, because next year will be a pressure-packed, I don't want to call it hot seat, but it'll be a very pressure, you better win type of year for Josh Heupel. People are losing patience. Yeah, we'll see. That'll be really interesting. We'll see what happens. I'm holding out hope with the playoff committee. I think you're probably right, Bear, that Vandy's not going to get in, and it's just going to be a travesty. It's going to be a travesty. They don't make it. It really is. I don't know who they bump out. That's the problem. I don't know who they bump out. Realistically, I don't know who they could bump out. We'll see what happens.
It's not just bumping out. You got to move up so much and hope for more chaos to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it is.
Yeah. I don't envy the committee's position. But, yeah, from the Tennessee perspective, yeah, I can't believe Tim Banks has lasted as long as he has, honestly. I mean, I know last year the defense was good and you went to the playoff, but, boy, they've been talking about getting rid of Tim Banks for years.
Yep.
So the fact that he's still around, I think it's probably about time. We'll see what happens with this Heupel thing, this Penn State thing. Like I said, he may not be the one making the move, but it was just the year of the door, man. I mean, Diego Pavia would not be denied, and it's so much more than him, like we talk every single week. But, yeah, it was the year of the door, man. What a special season for Clark League and the boys. 10 wins. 10 wins. Crazy. Many of us did not think it was possible.
Nope.
So
give a lot of credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
Fantastic year.
Yeah, huge. And Clark Lee's there to stay. Committed to Vandy with his extension. Bear, let's run through the rest of these. I know probably not a lot of postseason significance, obviously, from the playoff perspective, but some fun and entertaining games nonetheless. Oklahoma beats LSU 17-13. This one was ugly. Yeah, this one was nasty. LSU threw for a combined 113 yards. They ran for just 85. The OU defense was dominant. As we'd expect, John Mateer threw 3 interceptions in this football game. But, hey, by the way, I just mentioned, shame on me. I said no college football playoff implications. Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You're in the party. You're going to the playoff. You almost blew it.
You were right there twice.
You darn near blew it, but you didn't. You're in the college football playoff. Kudos, Brent Venables. Kudos, Boomer Sooner. A 10-2 final record. And, Bear, I tend to be kind of on the side that you are not. I hate to be Debbie Downer after a win, but you're probably right. Whoever draws Oklahoma in the first round of the college football playoff, the Sooners might be one and done with that offense. They very well might be. Because this was the game, right? You and I were both asking, hey, can the offense step up? Can the offense carry their end of the bargain? And the answer is no yet again, but you overcame and you found a way to get the dub.
Now, yes, it did make some strides. I mean, let's give credit where credit's due. John Mateer threw for 318 yards. Like, we finally saw John Mateer hit the 300-yard marker like he did at the start of the season. So I will give credit on that standpoint. He threw 2 god-awful interceptions, and then he had 3 total. I mean, he had 2 pathetically bad interceptions, and then somehow there was still a third one that was right around the corner. You had to rely so heavily on explosive plays. I mean, quite literally, you had the big touchdown pass to Isaiah Satanga. You had the big touchdown pass to Deion Burks. That's how you won this game. Guys, right now, if that's how you're going to win, they will just say, we're really going to just play zone, have everybody back, and make you stay in front of you. That'll be it. Just won't let you miss on that standpoint. Oklahoma defensively, though, is legit a national championship team. Got to give credit where credit's due. The right matchup, they'd be able to survive. 5 sacks on the day. I mean, 5 tackles for loss on the day. No sacks, but they were able to put a lot of pressure on LSU. They only gave up 1 big touchdown. Outside of that, really overall good performance. It's the reality of, because of the way you won football games, the quality of wins that you have, you're going to go to the college football playoff. There's an argument that right now Oklahoma does not belong in over Vandy because of the way these teams look, but the way that you win football games on the road in Tennessee, with your defense stepping on up and forcing 3 turnovers against Alabama, a win over Michigan, wins against Auburn, wins against a close call against Ole Miss. Both your losses coming to quality teams. You're going to be on in. That's the case. That's what it is. But again, very ugly game. One that I am burning the tape if I'm Ben Arbuckle, and I've got to find a way to fix it. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Chris. You ain't fixing much. This is who you are as an offense. Just bottom line.
Yeah, I think it is who you are. Again, you got that defense, though, that you can hang your hat on and you can win football games with. I think it'll depend a lot on what the matchup is in the first round of the college football playoff for Oklahoma. Meanwhile, for LSU, again, it's the Lane Kiffin era. They're just happy the season's over with. So I guess they still have a bowl game, correct, or no?
Who?
LSU.
Yeah, they're 7-5.
That's right. They do have a bowl game. Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see what the dynamic of the bowl game is like. But I mean, I don't think the result Saturday matters much to them. The Lane Kiffin era has begun. That's really all that matters down in Baton Rouge. So again, we'll see who Oklahoma gets in their first round playoff matchup. But good on Boomer Sooner. Good on Brent Venables finding a way, especially down the stretch, to win all these games. It's a math class, not an art class. And Oklahoma, they won the most important statistic pretty much every single week, that being the final score. Cole, let's go to the game that took place in Columbia, South Carolina really quickly. Clemson beat South Carolina 28-14. I picked Clemson to win this game. The road team just continues to have success in this series. This was Clemson's 6th straight win at Williams-Brice Stadium. It's crazy. The Gamecocks have not beaten Clemson at Willie B since Steve Spurrier was there. And it just felt like, I thought, Cole, more of the same. More of the same for a South Carolina team that struggled mightily all year. Lenore Sellers did throw for 381 yards, but he had 2 interceptions, and the Gamecocks' rushing attack was just completely non-existent. They ran for 41 yards. Crazy stat for you, by the way, Cole. Do you know that T.J. Parker for Clemson had more sacks in this football game by himself than Dylan Stewart had against Power 4 competition this season? T.J. Parker finished with 4 sacks in this game alone. Dylan Stewart had 3.5 sacks against P4 competition in 2025. I don't say that to rub salt in the wound. It's just crazy, and it speaks to how terrible the Gamecocks' offensive line was. Again, they're unable to overcome it. And I don't think Clemson's a great team either, but able to muster just enough offensively. They had a pair of rushing touchdowns, one from Adam Randall and one from Cade Klubnik. And outside of that, Bear, again, find a way to get a 28-14 win. Biggest takeaways from this one, the frustrating season in Columbia, South Carolina for the Gamecocks just finally coming to an end. Again, some other stats. They were 1 for 11 on third down with South Carolina, 1 for 3 on fourth down. They held the ball for just 21 minutes in this game. And Bear, the big one, they had 4 turnovers. 4 turnovers. And you had also the pick 6 by Lenora Sellers. I was trying to remember because I was watching this game in the car on the way to Auburn. The pick 6 was a backbreaker as well. Was Lenora Sellers laughing on the sideline after? Was he not? I have no idea. Is he going to come back next year? We have no clue. But either way, this season ends about the way the entire season went for Carolina, which was in just immense frustration.
Yeah, they had 3 turnovers because the ACC officiating quite literally is a joke. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, that call and that.
I'm sorry. And by the way, I'm not defending South Carolina because they would have lost this game still by 10 points. It doesn't matter when it comes to that. But my goodness, how are you so bad at officiating? And why is it always South Carolina that has to deal with the worst officiating that we could ever see possible? This is like the 4th time it's happened. But my God, you can clearly see the ball hit the ground, and you're like, oh, you know what? Doesn't matter. It's Clemson. We're going to go get in the ball. There were 3 face mask penalties that weren't called on them. But also, the epitome of what South Carolina was, Chris, their offensive personnel and the play structure, pathetic. You're on 3rd and 1. You need a yard. Why are you going for the deep shot? Why are you going downfield? Just get the first down. Hit that. You're in 3rd and 23. Why are you doing the dink and dunk just to have a better field positioning for punting? That's where you take the deep shot. Not tried for it at that point. And the overall structure of the offensive line, Lenore Sellers was under distress the entire day, but he also had his faults. Nick Harbor is such a hit and miss player because on one hand, beautiful touchdown. I mean, you could not ask for a better touchdown throw and a better catch from number 8, from 16. On the flip side, you had a bad fumble that really cost you the game at that point. All momentum lost. And the ball hits you right in the chest, and it hangs in the air, and then it clumps and pick six. Just so hit and miss. And that is kind of what was South Carolina's season this entire year. The moments that you had to have, disastrous. The moments that you knew that you didn't need, quite literally a joke. And ultimately, it came back to bite you. Far too many mistakes, far too many self-inflicted wounds, never really any momentum, put you in a position of where, my goodness, I can't believe that this is what we're seeing on the field. Guys, you gotta make a culture change. Bad. And Shane Beamer, the reason he's back is because he is the all-time winningest coach over a 4-win period, which again is saying a lot. He has signature wins with the 8-win year and then the 9-win season. He's beaten multiple top 25 teams. So you give him the benefit of the doubt for for another season. But you got to fix a lot. And I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news because you know as well as I do, Chris, South Carolina wants South Carolina. They want all South Carolina. They want former players. They want former input. They want all that. You can't have that. Shane's got to go swing big. Shane's got to go to the outside. He's got to make hires that people would not think of. He's got to be able to put his team in a position of where they look completely different than last year. And you know what? He's banking on himself because what did he say in the postgame? He said, I promise you, I am turning this team from being a bottom dweller into a playoff contender. Brother, you basically said if we're not going to the playoff next year, guess what? I'm fired. You wrote that check. Let's go ahead and change culture. Clemson, you're 7-5. It's still a crappy season for you for what the expectations were at the start of the year. Congratulations, though, on winning this game. Have fun in the Sun Bowl.
I just don't know why Shane Beamer feels like he has to come out and say that. You know what I mean? Like, it just I get he's trying to sell like hope and excitement and hype, but you're right, Cole. Like, man, when you're going out there and saying like, hey, you can bank on us this time next year, we're having the conversation about the playoff. Well, like, now you're just setting a really crazy bar for yourself that, hey, if you get to November and you got 4 losses, well, guess what? You probably ain't going to make it to that point in the season next year. So you better be ready to cash in on that check for sure. Have you heard the name, by the way, Bear, that is floating around, that new offensive coordinator for South Carolina that they're close to hiring?
John David Baker from ECU.
Yeah.
Very good offensive identity.
Former Ole Miss co-OC under Lane Kiffin.
Very unique style of play. A lot of things you can like when it comes to the rushing attack, the RPO system. Very explosive downfield. They like taking their shots. You also got to go in the portal and bring in the right players to work around it. And I mean, not just ECU guys. You got to swing big. You need to be able, and I will say this, one thing you got to do for sure, you got to land a running back. You got to land a really good running back. And there'll be some names available. If you're Jeremiah Dante, you have got it. Dante, how do I say his last name? Donati. Yeah, if you're Jeremiah Donati, you have got to be able to put your money where your mouth is in the NIL fund and get yourself a premier running back. And I mean a damn good one. Like, Mekhi Hughes from Oregon is going to be made available. You saw what he did at Tulane. You need to make that move.
Yeah, there's a lot to fix. I think that's the scary thing with South Carolina. It's not like it's just 1 or 2 things. Hey, dude, I don't know if you saw this today. Clayton White's name is coming up for the Coastal Carolina head coach job. What if you lose him?
Is that the worst thing?
I think he's done a pretty good job.
I think he's done a really good job personally, but I'm just saying, guys and South Carolina fans, if they want full change, is that the worst thing? I think it's
it's not. I mean, it's not, but I don't know. He's done a pretty solid job, I think, all things considered, especially with the turnovers. They every year, it seems, have led the SEC in forced turnovers. So we'll see what happens. But you're right. When they spot the ball to start the 2026 season, this thing's going to look a lot different in Columbia, South Carolina. It has to. You're right. Bear, let's go to Fayetteville really quickly. Missouri beats Arkansas 31-17. The season mercifully comes to an end for the Hogs. 2-10, they finished final record. Just looking at the statistics from this game, 347 total yards of offense to 246 for Arkansas. Missouri ran the football for 322 yards. Bo Prabula went just 4 of 7 for 25 yards in this game.
Yep.
and they scored 31 points. Ahmad Hardy with 157, Jamal Roberts with 100. Again, they ran for 3 rushing touchdowns. And for Arkansas, it was KJ Jackson who went 11 of 17 for a touchdown. How about Taylon Green got in 6 of 13 for 59 yards in his last game in Fayetteville. Arkansas was pretty much shut down across the board offensively to 61 rushing yards. A 2-touchdown win for MIZ, Bear. I mean, is there much to say on this one from your standpoint?
It was a 21-0 swing, and you threw for under 100 yards and still won by double digits against Arkansas. That tells you where the program is. And this is where I will defend Ryan Silverfield entirely. Ladies and gentlemen of Fayetteville, may I have your attention, please? Bobby Petrino would have been a worse hire than Ryan Silverfield. You went 2-10 with not a single win against a program that is in a major conference, including a G5 program. I will throw in. You had a shot in 2 games. 2. Every other game you were blown out. And you let go of Sam Pittman in October. Beginning of October. You went 0-7 with Bobby Petrino as your head coach. It was not a move. It wasn't. Get over it. I'm sorry. And as for Missouri, you have an opportunity to finish with 9 wins. Eli Drinkwitz signs his extension. He is now going to be locked in for the long haul. I don't know if this is the beginning of the end of 9-win seasons. I don't know if Missouri believes that they can turn the corner at this point, or if Eli Drinkwitz believes that, like, I just got to go ahead and get paid while I can. There still is the speculation of not being able to beat quality teams in the SEC. But number one, you don't complain about going 8-4 in a year where you had a lot of turnover and your quarterback got hurt, and maybe he would have been back for several games that you could have won. And you also never complain about your team having the leading rusher in the SEC. Don't complain about those things. Congratulations to Ahmad Hardy. Cannot wait to see what they do next season. Whatever bowl game they're going to go to, they still have an opportunity to finish ranked once again.
Yeah, I mean, it's a chance to get the 9 wins from IZ, like you mentioned. I think that Drink coming back to Mizzou was the smart move, especially after his name had the prospects of him had kind of cooled off at some places, and he's got a good thing going at Missouri. I think he's a good fit. I don't see any reason why you would leave. And I agree with you, Bear. Bobby Petrino would have been, thanks for everything, but he would have been a terrible, terrible hire for Arkansas. So that's a really tough situation there, as we talked about. And again, Missouri, death taxes, and they just always beat Arkansas. Bottom line. Doesn't matter where the game's played or who's on what sideline or whatever's going on. So, Bear, let's go to the game that took place in Gainesville. Florida beats Florida State 40-21. I'm sure your boy TJ was reeling today. This actually knocks FSU out of a bowl game. They finished 5-7. Florida finishes up 4-8. A great pillow fight down in the Sunshine State, but either way, Florida is able to win this game and win it handily. I tell you, man, Bear, I know we're SEC unfiltered. We'll talk Florida, but I don't know how Florida State. I don't know how you get people fired up for next year. I mean, with Mike Norvell back, where's the hope? Where's the hope when it comes to this program?
You lost to a 3-win Florida team, and it wasn't
handily,
and it wasn't close. There is no hope. I mean, there's really not much to say for this game outside of congratulations to Jaden Baugh.
Jaden Baugh,
first
run
running
the
back,
damn ball.
First running back since 2015 to rush for 1,000 yards for Florida in a season. On top of that, he made no doubt that he was going to run 266, 38 carries.
I was going to ask you, when's the last time you saw a game where a running back got 38 carries? That's like early 2000s type of vibe right there.
I don't know, but here's what I will tell you, dude. It is so infuriating for Florida because what did we say all year? Your X factor is Jaden Baugh. Yeah, proof of concept. Right there. So many things should have gone your way if you just ran the damn ball. Quite literally. And it was a wasted season because of it. Now he's going to be back for Florida next year, I believe. Jon Sumrall is going to do everything possible to keep him on the roster. John, I'm going to give you a piece of advice, bud. It's a good one. Think you should listen to it. Run the damn ball. Just run it. I promise you, you may not win every game, but you're going to win more than you lose if you run the damn ball. That's it. DJ Lagway had a game. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. J. Michael Sertaman had a good day. Hayden Hansen got in the end zone one more time. Defensively, he had 7 tackles for losses, 4 sacks. Kind of kept them out of the running. Very good spot. And that's it. Like, really not much else to say. Handle business in the last game of the year. And you know what? Credit to Billy Gonzalez as an interim coach like Frank Wilson and not like Bobby Petrino, who Arkansas fans are still clamoring about. We should have just hired. You got to win in the SEC. You got to win as the Florida head coach. Give you credit where credit's due on that one. Congratulations.
A game like this still goes to show, Barry, even in the midst of a terrible season, it's still fun to beat your rival. And it's still fun to beat them the way you beat them. Jaden Baugh, I agree with you from what I've heard. I think we'll be back in Gainesville next year, which massive boost because that dude is an absolute freak. So run the damn ball, Jon Sumrall. And I agree with you. And again, I have no clue how Florida State goes into 2026 with any sort of optimism or excitement, but it's not really our problem. So, Bear, finally, we don't even have to spend more than like 5 seconds on this. We already talked about it. 41-0. Louisville beats Kentucky. Mark Stoops is fired. Pathetic showing, pathetic game. Anything else to say other than that? Kentucky, by the way, with 140 total yards of offense, they got outgained 440 to 140. I mean, it was just a drubbing, a straight up drubbing. If the score didn't indicate it, again, 41-0 Louisville over Kentucky.
I don't even want to talk about it. I mean, I don't. Because it wasn't only that you lost all merit of having a really good season. It was, they had a quarterback that was at 50% be better than your entire team. So bad. Just bad. It's why Mark Stoops was fired. Like, honestly, all the good that he had gained over the last couple of weeks, you can even live with losing to a top 15 Vanderbilt team. You can't afford to have this bad of a performance with also multiple starters for Louisville out at key positions, and it didn't matter. By God, bad. Like, you know what this reminded me of, Chris? Start of the season, we said the team that had no juice was Kentucky. That proved my point. Everything else doesn't matter anymore. That proved my point.
Yeah. Kentucky, going to be a long off season. We'll see who they bring in, though. We'll see who they hire. Bear, that said, man, crazy to think you and I, this journey we've been on, that was the final weekend of the regular season, the final Sunday fun day, where we will have it in this form and fashion, where we've got all these different games to break down and a regular season slate of games to discuss. Obviously, Sunday Fun Day going to continue, but in this form and fashion, crazy, Bear. It was a fun season, man. It was a very, very fun season. And now it kind of reminds me of what Thanos once said. He said, "You could not live with your own failure. Would that bring you back to me?" That's Georgia and Alabama telling us, hey, come back to Mercedes-Benz, because it's Georgia and Alabama again in the SEC championship. So there you go. The more things change, the more they stay the same. So,
all right, I got to be up in like 6 hours for work, so let's run through this. Hot take or reactions for Week 14.
Okay, I'll give you one since we're going to wrap it up here. One overreaction. I mean, just because of where I was at, I'll say this. I think when Auburn's right, Jordan-Hare is probably the best environment in college football. I mean, just getting to experience that firsthand. You know, it wasn't loud the whole game now, but I mean, when it popped, it roared in there. Like it was a significant roar in that stadium where I'm like, dude, this is for a team that was very bad this year. Like, if this thing was right, that place, yeah, Auburn's different. So a good Auburn, and I think you got maybe maybe the best environment in college football.
Yeah. I don't even think that it's definitely an overreaction because of, again, it's the Iron Bowl. You went to the game.
I went to the best game. Yeah.
But still, I don't think you're wrong. Like I've always said, Death Valley, Jordan-Hare, and Neyland Stadium are the 3 best environments in the sport when they're at their peak. I don't disagree with you. Josh Heupel will be named the next head coach at Penn State tomorrow morning. And now Tennessee, and now Vanderbilt will actually be able to say they run the state of Tennessee. Because there's not a coach that's currently in Neyland. And here's the crazy part, Chris. I don't know where you go. I don't know. Who is the coach that you're going to target? And by the way, they will target somebody because it's Tennessee. And Danny White is not going to sit by and just go ahead and have, a no-namer come on it. They will get somebody. But where do you go?
I don't know. That's how many more SEC jobs can we have open up? That's my question. How many more?
From last year not having a single one to, I think at this point, we will have 7 new coaches in a different spot because of with Lane Kiffin on the move and Pete Golding getting promoted. Because now with Mark Stoops gone, that's 6, I think. That's a third of the league.
Wow. Yeah, but listen, we knew it was. What did I say? I think before the season, I said like over under like 2.5 or 3.5.
I said that there would be 4 coaches fired this year.
Yeah,
we're at 6 moves. 6. Good God. I got one more overreaction for you.
Yeah.
I believe that Ryan Silverfield will end up being one of the better hires in the land of the SEC in 3 years. And Arkansas still will not pay him, and he will go to another SEC school. And then everyone will look at Arkansas and say, what the hell happened?
I'm trying to think of one more overreaction. Okay. All right. I've got one. This just might be just a crazy take. Jon Sumrall will have a longer tenure at his respective school than Lane Kiffin will at LSU.
3 years from now, Lane Kiffin on the hot seat goes to the NFL.
That's why it's called a hot take. That's why it's called an overreaction.
Yep.
All right, let's give out some attaboys, Bear. I'll say attaboy to I'll actually go Kalen DeBoer for the stones he showed in that game. Attaboy Kalen DeBoer for digging deep in that ball game.
Attaboy number 1 to Diego Pavia. You lived up to every single promise, dude. You've won.
Build the damn statue. Build the statue.
You won 10 games. You took your team to its best season in program history. You changed the culture for Vanderbilt for the better. You're a Heisman finalist in my eyes. You should win the damn award in my eyes. You're going to make the college football playoff committee tell you no. Build the freaking statue, Diego Pavia. Do it, Vanderbilt.
I'm going to actually give an attaboy to Cole the Bear Thompson. Bear, you crushed it this weekend. So thank you so much for doing that. It was a busy – dude, I mean, seriously, for those that don't realize, 3 reactions on Friday, 4 on Saturday.
4 on Saturday.
4 coach reactions today.
I have done 11 reactions since Friday. 12 reactions since Friday, if you include this.
And then this show and College Football Addiction with our buddies TJ and
Tom.
Yeah, Tom. So, I mean.
And I also did this while writing about the Houston Texans beating the Indianapolis Colts.
Yes. There you go. So, attaboy to Cole the Bear Thompson. Thank you, Bear. I appreciate you. Truly.
Attaboy to everyone here at SEC Unfiltered that has been on with us for 2 hours and 13 minutes and the entire season. The reason why we love what we do, the reason why we do these long podcasts, the reasons why that we go on tangents of all tangents is you let us do it. We've had over 5,000 people watch tonight. It's a very successful live stream. Like the video, hit the notification, make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we're going to keep doing it because we got another game. We got the playoffs. We're going to have a guaranteed.
Hey, we got bowl season, baby. I love bowl season.
Guaranteed 4, if not 5 teams in the playoff for the SEC. After last season only having 3 bowl games, off season, transfer portal window, everything's there. It's all because of you guys.
Yeah, well said, Bear. Very well said. I was certainly walking to the car as we close out here. I was walking to the car from the Iron Bowl hit me in stadium, but even more so, you start to kind of reflect and being on the road 14 straight weekends and the SEC Unfiltered Tour and just everything, all the memories with you guys and all the great times. It's not over yet, obviously. We've got one more stop, at least when it comes to like the regular season tour. I think the tour will actually continue past the SEC championship, but that's kind of where I put the pin in it of like its own sort of chapter just because it's consecutive weeks. So week number 15 and the final stop of the consecutive weekends, the tour, if you will be the SEC championship game. I'll be in Atlanta, Georgia, Alabama. I mean, you guys already know we're always going to be at the SEC title, at least until we're not, essentially. But Georgia and Bama fans alike, looking forward to hanging out with you guys. And again, to echo what Cole said, thank you all so much for the love, for the support. Without it, we wouldn't be where we are, where we're going, and we're super excited about both. And again, we just can't say thank you enough. So with that being said, we're going to put a pin in it. We're 2 hours and 15 minutes in this thing. This is what happens when you get coaches on coaches on coaches, on firings, on rivalry weekend, or what have you. And again, we wouldn't have it any other way, guys. It's been an absolute blast all throughout this regular season. And truly, again, thank y'all for another successful regular season of us covering the best conference in the land. All these live shows we've done, the previews, the predictions, the interviews, everything in between. It's been incredible, man. It's been incredible. We cannot say thank you enough. So that being said, the Overtime Drive will return on Wednesday. Same schedule this week. We've only got one game to discuss, but we'll have a lot of other pieces of content as well because, folks, the fireworks ain't over. That's just like fireworks ain't over. We got signing day Wednesday.
Remember, we'll see on Tuesday first because we got to do a college football playoff.
Yes. We'll be back Tuesday with the playoff rankings reaction, of course. So like I'm saying, it's content bleeding out the eyeballs, you already know, but hell, we got signing day Wednesday. Like I said, the portal's going to start popping off more than likely. Who knows with this coaching carousel thing? There'll be staff updates. There will be all kinds of stuff that we'll continue to dive into and dissect, and it's going to be a blast. So again, guys, as always, when we get out of here, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Make sure you check us out via podcast. Wherever you get your social media content, make sure you check us out on all the social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. For Cole the Bear Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. This is the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered's bi-weekly SEC football show, the best SEC football show on the internet. We're signing off. Have a great rest of your Sunday night. We'll talk to you all this week. Cheers.